We are tonight's entertainment.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Excellent!
Hello everyone, welcome to the Movie Mania podcast where we talk films past, present, and future. I am Sherman Trey White of Podcast Media, and joining me are the men, the myths, the legends. They've got hope because rebellions are built on hope. Trilbee and Bandit!
Hello, Movie Mania audience, or as I like to call you, Stardust. How are you guys?
I like to imagine at least one person out there was like, "What the hell is he? What is he talking about?" Welcome everybody to the podcast. This is going to be our big Rogue One episode. It's been we're finally there. We're finally talking about Star Wars. Our obligatory Star Wars episodes here now. And we'll get to Star Wars later, and keep in mind that we will do a brief non-spoiler talk for those of you that haven't seen it. And for those of you that have, time codes listed below if you want to jump right to that. How are you guys doing?
Oh, good. It feels like ages since we've been together. This show is like The Walking Dead, where we come together for an episode and it's awesome, and then we all drift off in different directions.
It's someone like make a gif
and by
of like
we
bandits,
all, I mean
like
usually
bandits.
me.
Yeah, like it's like me and Trilbee like sitting in like a hilltop, and then like instead of Daryl, it's Daryl with like Bandit's face like photoshopped onto it, and they walk over. We just always have a group hug.
I should just let everyone know it wasn't pure laziness that I didn't show up last week, because I then, like, when I woke up, I came down with one of the worst flus I've ever had for the last week or so, which I still partly have. So it's not totally on me. I was coming down with the flu. But how are you guys? How are you?
Without the flu, I know, as I say as I knock on wood. So that's nice. Yeah. How about you, Trilbee?
I'm doing okay. Even though we're a week away from Christmas, and I'm going to be working the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Nothing ever changes.
Nothing. I guess imagine like you're like sitting there. It's like, please, I must go home to see my family. Your boss is like Scrooge. It's like, no.
Cratchit, you're working till Christmas. Can I at least put one lump of coal on the fire, sir?
But how long has it been since it felt like we got like a real Star Wars movie? I don't know, but it finally feels like we've got a real Star Wars movie now. Finally.
I've not been this excited for Star Wars since I saw the holiday special.
It's so good.
Bandit, please stop having nerdgasms in my
Sorry,
ear.
I keep doing that.
Like, I feel it's happened like 4 times off camera, guys. I feel like this episode's going to be one giant Force Awakens defender, because I feel like that's my job of this podcast is going to be to have to defend the Force Awakens, because I feel like now that Rogue One's out, there's just been all this shade from a Force Awakens that is just like just made its way back into the atmosphere, and it's really starting to bother me again. Because even like I'll be watching a Rogue One review, and like so it won't even be like Bandit. Someone will just be like, yeah, but they did this as it was so much better than what they did in the Force Awakens. Like, hey, a year ago y'all were happy to get a Star Wars movie. I'm just saying.
That's right.
We can always just go back to the prequels, but it's whatever.
We can never go back now. We've had a taste of what good Star Wars is.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And by the way, sorry to everyone if you hear the sound of like a goat being force choked by Darth Vader in the background. Apparently there's some kind of dying animal in the next property outside, and I can't close the window. So if you hear this weird sort of like rah sound, don't freak out. It's okay.
Where in the Aussie land are you located to where you could be like, oh yeah, there's the one time we had to get this snake out of this hole, and there was this giant spider, and there's this raven pecking on my car, and then the next house over, not the next house, the next property over, they have this dying animal that might be giving birth or something. I'm not sure.
And then Darth Vader shows up.
Yeah.
Well, this time, because outside my window is the property line, and there's like cows and stuff walk past sometimes, so there's one nearby making a lot of noise this morning, so sorry about that if anyone hears it.
Jesus Christ.
Just letting them know.
Okay.
Just letting them know. Yeah, it just went off again.
I would like to let you know that Wikia page is now becoming like fuller and fuller, because like people are like
After you guys mentioned it, I went and had a look, and my sister has a picture that page there now.
Oh god.
Is there an actual picture, or is it?
I don't know who's doing that, but it's amazing. No, the picture is the picture she sent of Expecto Persisto. You know, the picture, the artwork that one of our fans sent in.
That fan art is now on a wiki page. Yeah, it was really weird to see that I have some kind of page on the internet that I didn't do, and it was just like, oh yeah, we know, and it's always as if like they're like trying to hunt me down. It's like, we know he lives in Texas. I'm like, yeah.
It feels a bit like that, doesn't it? It feels like someone's gathering intel.
Oh,
Like they're trying to pinpoint my location.
someone has actually put stuff in my Wikia page now for the Bandit Incorporated wiki. I've got a personality section saying Trilbee has a very strong passion for film. He is not as manic as Trey or as cynical as Bandit, displaying a very nice and calm, politically correct personality.
Yeah,
Manic.
Is that the one that says that
about?
you hate Trump and Brexit as
And
well?
Brexit.
It makes a note of
Okay.
that.
Right, affiliation, Film Brits, Movie Mania podcast, Disney, feminism. Feminism's not a club. I've not received my card yet. If I attend the feminist meetings again, I get a free seat at the front. Because that's how it works.
You just get a letter saying, Shirley,
Feminism.
welcome to feminism. Oh, we've been expecting you.
Yeah, my first meeting, I was so nervous. We gathered around in a circle, and I was like, "Hello, my name's Trilbee, and I'm a feminist."
It's like
And then we had to-
like the ad from the Wicker Man. Oh my god.
But even Sam Gavin has got a page because he's kind of like tangentially related because we had that crossover for the last episode of Film Brits.
Yeah, totally.
Why does Ray and Boba Fett have a page?
I don't know.
Why does Boba Fett have a
Both
page on the Bandit Incorporated thing?
They're both characters Bandit hate, apparently. Oh man, that's really funny. Yeah, but I am like really nervous now to bring up anything I say about any of the area around me, because I'm like, I don't even like triangulate my location and like just like I don't want to like be walking down the street. I'm walking around in my apartment complex I live in, and I just hear, "Are you Trey from Movie Mania?" And I'm just like, I better not be. Oh man. What do they mean manic? I'm not manic. You're manic. Shut up.
Oh, Movie
All right,
Mania, sir. Someone's got to be someone's got to be the mania. Someone's got to be the
Someone's
manic.
gotta be the maniac. To be fair, yeah, Bandit's way more cynical than I am, I suppose. But we're gonna get to Rogue One, so you're gonna find that out. Okay. Let's get to the movie news.
I know we shouldn't be laughing at Bandit's pain, but can we please like leave that in?
Yes, please.
Let's get to the movie news. Bang. For those of you who are just joining us, Bandit has just watched the trailer for Transformers The Last Night. Shouldn't be laughing.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. Cannonball!
All right, guys, this is the movie news portion of the show, in which case we talk about the movie news that came out, of course, the last week or so. Starting off, let's start with the Trash and the Furious, or the Fate of the Furious trailer came out a week or so ago. What do you guys think about this trash trailer?
Look, it might be trash, but it's family. You can't knock family. You have to accept
Yeah,
family
Trey.
because family is what it's all about. It's family. Family is family is family.
If everyone
Yeah,
back on
Trey. Are
family,
you turning
like,
your back on family?
but here's
Yeah,
my question,
Trey.
Like, yes, I turned my back on family 2 movies ago. Yeah.
Everyone would be like, why is Trey suddenly turning on the Movie Mania podcast? And then you're making out with Charlize Theron, and we'll all be like, okay,
Hey.
that explains it.
Yeah,
We get it.
I'm like, hey, if I have to leave, my family from Charlize Theron, the sacrifices have to be made. You know what I'm saying, for the good of the cause.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
just saying, that makes sense. Like, anyone would be like, why would you betray your family? Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Furiosa.
If it's like, if it's like Furiosa or Michelle Rodriguez, it's like, come on, it's not even a contest.
She's supposed to be dead anyway, isn't she? From
Mhm.
that franchise.
Yeah, Yeah, you can't make out with a dead chick.
alive, make up your mind. Come on.
Yeah. We need
I
a woman
every
with
single movie she's in. So I'm like, she's probably gonna someone's gonna end up dying in this one, right?
Yeah, I mean, Paul
you know,
Walker
I think
made
it's
up
looking
his
at
mind.
this.
Oh no, sorry.
Oh man.
Oh,
Sorry, I've only had 3 hours sleep. I'm kind of out of it.
Oh man. All right. Okay, guys. You know, we discovered the line. We know how far this podcast could go now. All right. Let's not cross that line again. Jesus, that was bleaker than the ending of Rogue One. Oh Christ. All right. So. Okay.
where do we go from there?
Let's just jump up.
Well,
Let's just hop over it.
what I will say is that you know, there was all the behind the scenes stuff where The Rock was like, yeah, Vin Diesel's a candy ass for not pulling his weight and he's not doing a good enough job. And then this trailer ends with it begins with Vin Diesel getting his revenge and causing The Rock to crash his car.
Yeah, I would imagine that was all publicity. It was all like subtle foreshadowing against the plot of this movie. Listen, I tweeted out and I said the trailer looks just as trash as the last film, and I don't like that dumb, senseless, quote unquote fun makes billions of dollars, and without any, I feel like no real effort is ever put into these movies. They're just like, what looks cool, and it's like, well, that doesn't, it doesn't make for good filmmaking, and it always bothers me that people always say, well, that's fun, so what's the big deal? And you guys know my opinion on the word fun anyways, which sounds really, really mean when I say it like that. I'm like, you know how I feel about fun, but no.
Go on, Trey, fun is family.
Yeah, but it's just, I don't know. And plus the title is pretty stupid.
Movies
It seems
are
like
built on fun.
But yeah, the fate of the Furious. Like, I can't believe it's taken 8 films for us to finally know that it's this group of people who are the Furious. They're not the Fast, they're the Furious. So who's the Fast?
Maybe
Because
the
if they're the
law, 'cause
Furious-
it keeps catching up with them.
Okay. Oh,
I was gonna
snap.
make a really bad Paul Walker joke, but I won't make a Paul Walker joke.
Okay, so
and
Paul was the
Oh,
Fast, everyone
I
else
can
was the
imagine.
Furious, and now that he's gone, it's okay. This is all making sense now.
I mean, that's not the joke I was gonna make, but whatever. Yeah, we'll
So
go
the
there.
ultimate fast is the Grim Reaper driving a car. Just like, haha, I'm gonna get you eventually. Oh god, we miss you, Paul Walker.
Podcast is gonna be
You did.
Yeah.
Oh god. Okay.
At least Jason
No.
Statham's back.
Yeah, that's a fun dynamic to see Jason Statham and The Rock. It's just Jason Statham is always fun now to watch. Like I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Spy, but he's a lot of fun in Spy. He has probably some of the best lines.
Jumped off a train while I was on fire. No, not the car. I was on fire. He's one of the best parts of that film.
No, you times infinity. Yeah,
I've eaten enough microchips to shit out a computer.
But in all seriousness, though,
in
in all seriousness, this is probably the only direction they could have taken Fast and the Furious now, and still make it interesting. Because when the trailer started and he was doing his whole "we're family," I was like, oh god, again. But then he's like rams rock off the road, and I'm like, okay, now I'm interested, which is good. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna see it.
I could not be less interested in seeing this film. If I have to see this film for the podcast, I'll see this film. Yeah, I really like. I busted out laughing incredibly hard when the submarine came out of nowhere. I was like, I was laughing as hard as I would. And like it wasn't like whoa, it wasn't like certain scenes with Darth Vader funny where you're just like, this is so crazy. It's like, this is the stupidest thing I've seen in a long time. It's just no, I can't. I really don't have time to deal with Fast and Furious and Transformers within them like a month and a half of each other. I don't see how I can physically pull that off.
Yeah, you know what this franchise is? This franchise is like the movie in Last Action Hero, only for real. Like, remember in The Last Action Hero, he jumps inside an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, and like a guy gets killed by like an ice cream cone hitting him in the back of the head, and then Arnie's like, ice that guy, cone of phrase. It's like Fast and Furious is like that, except it's a real movie.
But instead of like one-liners, it's just like family.
And then a submarine comes after them. Yeah.
Yes. Like, at least with the last one, like the building thing, I don't see why building jumping seems more feasible than them like dragging a submarine, like a nuclear submarine, across ice, and
the safe sequence from the fifth one was really good though. When they're
the
driving,
fifth is a good movie. Like I don't understand, because it was just ridiculous enough to where I'm like, okay, that wouldn't happen, but it's a
Trey,
movie.
you saying it was fun?
Yeah, it actually was, and I really dug the sixth movie because it was just stupid enough to not be ridiculous. But then the sixth one happened, and they spent like 40 minutes going down a runway. I'm like, well, how long is this runway?
It's so long.
It's longer than the airport. And then like Gal Gadot dies, and we're just supposed to be like, oh no, not that woman who had like 2 lines. Oh man. But then Jason Statham shows up, and you're just like, oh man, Jason Statham's gonna be the villain in the next one. That's fun. And then you see 7 when like this is genuinely stupid. Wow, I'm stupider for watching this movie. Wow, that's what that feels like.
Yeah. What we got next then?
Yeah. No. Sorry, going on a completely different route. The trailer for Dunkirk, the new Christopher Nolan film.
Looked pretty good. Pretty good.
It looks exceptional, Bandit.
Really?
And I'm not just saying that. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Christopher Nolan fanboy. I'm saying that because I'm a Christopher Nolan fanboy. I am a Christopher Nolan fanboy.
You're a nan boy.
Yeah. Is that what that's called? Is that what we're coining the phrase?
I don't know. That's a terrible name. I'm sure we could think of something better.
I prefer Nolanite, if I'm honest with you.
That's much better. Yes.
But like as a Nolanite, he has found a way to blow me away with certain sequences in every one of his films since, I don't know, The Prestige. And like, even say what you will about Dark Knight Rises or Interstellar, I still, especially with Interstellar, he still finds ways to make these look. But I think with like Dunkirk, unless they find some weird third act twist, I feel like this is going to be a very grounded. This might be his most real film, if that makes any sense. I feel like he's going to keep it at a very real level, and just, you know, something as simple as a shot of the guy walking into the water and taking off taking off his uniforms and stuff, and that was just such a powerful shot. And I'm really excited to see how Christopher Nolan handles a true war movie, i.e. Rogue One. But like, it's just I don't know, I'm really excited for this film, and it looks just stunning. I'm so excited. And if I can find a 70mm IMAX screen near me, I will be there, because I haven't seen a film in 70mm IMAX since, like, I don't know, The Dark Knight. It's been a long time, so I'm excited.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Trilbee, you might know this, but isn't the story of Dunkirk at the time where the initial Nazi push in World War II across France or whatever, and there was like this pocket of British that were waiting to be sent back across the channel to Britain, so they were kind of like being hemmed in from the Nazis, and it was like this last-ditch effort to try to get out of town before the Nazis come and kill everyone?
Yeah, basically, you had...
and D-Day was like the reverse of that when they finally came back.
Yeah, when they came back onto the beach. Yeah, basically, Belgian, British, and French soldiers were sort of like trapped on this beach, and the only way was to make it way, but you had to escape by boat. But then they were just being picked off, and it was like a week and a half or 2-week evacuation, where hundreds and thousands of soldiers were just... all of these boats, everyone nearby, even like civilians, who I'm assuming Mark Rylance is going to be playing one of them, just nearby fisher boats who were like, yeah, we've got to get these guys out of here. So they'd come along, and I like the use of the word realism that you've been saying, Trey, because I'm sure that 99% of this film is going to be practical stuff. Like, I'm sure the planes and everything are going to be CGI, and there's going to be a couple of enhancements here and there. But when you see hundreds of men on the beach, you know that those are either going to be extras, or who knows, maybe a couple of cardboard cutouts at the end of the beach when you run out of actors, something like that. You know that those boats are going to be real. They're going to be really jumping into the water. They're really going to be on a beach. They're really going to be near the explosions. Nolan's a very practical filmmaker, and I think to do something like Dunkirk with that sensibility, we may have like one of the best war films since Saving Private Ryan. I think, maybe not to hype it up too much. I feel like you're talking about practical effects. I was just shy in the trailer. I was just looking at the trailer as you guys were discussing, and there's a shot of where like sand just falls in this guy's face, but this sand so powerful from the explosion like shakes the camera. I can just imagine him on set going, you know, can you stand next to this explosion here? And the actor's like, what? Like, yeah, we're gonna blow up this sand. Don't worry, you're gonna be fine. But just lay on the ground and just cover your ears, because it might blow your eardrum out. But it's fine. And right, action, and they just like blow the sand up around these actors. I like to think he wasn't. I like to think they weren't even told. It was basically, okay, guys, you just stand on that massive X that we've just drawn on the sand, and then all of the camera crew are like behind sandbags or like wearing body armor.
Everyone's
so
sitting
just
behind, and like
just to the left,
and, like,
to the left.
shields.
Okay, fire in the hole.
Like what? And then all the reactions are real. They're like pushing the extras' dead bodies into the water. That's a great shot too. This movie does look really, really cool. I'm really excited for Dunkirk.
But how is Nolan? Because a lot of his movies, whether it's Interstellar or whether it's Inception or whatever, ends with the main character going into some weird, kind of wacky mental fifth dimension or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
how are you going to do that
looks...
with Dunkirk? Is he going to like?
I'm really.
Is he going to like be blown, like have like a near-death experience, and then like suddenly he's like falling through this house of mirrors? No,
because Nolan's films always do have that kind of not necessarily supernatural, but that kind of otherworldly element to it, like whether it be Inception and The Dreaming, or Interstellar and the space travel, even Batman to a certain extent, or even like The Prestige with all the clones, but this one seems to be very real and very solid. There's not the premise seems to be very. It's a war film, and that's all it is. It's not trying to be something. I think that's because I think he has to pull back because of Interstellar and how perhaps that was received, and he wasn't expecting the fifth dimension bookshelf thing to really upset a lot of people. Yeah. But I love. I think a lot of people. I think he seems to be a very reactionary filmmaker. He tends to listen to people around him from the looks of it, because people always talked about how his emotions and his characters were always lacking, and then he made a film all about love with Interstellar, and everyone hated it, and everyone hated how ridiculous it got. And so now he's like, fine, well, I'll give you just a hardcore, horrible, and sad war film, and that's what you guys get with it.
Do you think we'll get the Christopher Nolan backwards forwards out of order storytelling thing, where we're always
I'm always certain
flashback.
of it. Yeah, I'm almost certain of it. I'm almost sure of it that it's probably gonna start with like the end of the movie and how someone's gonna be like in the water and they're barely gonna get away, and it's like, well, how did this happen? Like, well, let me tell you. And then
Flash
go back to
before the war.
Song.
And do you think?
So that's exactly what probably
every woman in the movie is dead because it's Nolan. Yeah, that'll work.
Kenneth Branagh exploded, and Harry Styles for some reason still alive. What was that about?
Yeah, I think we are going to get a much more conventional film. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think we're going to be like at the end of the film, Harry Styles is just going to see Marion Cotillard, and she'll be like, "You're waiting for a boat," or something like that. I don't know.
She's going to be in it. I don't know how they're going to find a way to stick her in the movie, and she's just going to be there, and it's like, so shoot Harry Styles.
My father's work is done, and she dies.
The worst cinematic death maybe ever.
Yeah.
If we're going to be getting like a third act twist or something, it would probably be something more like the film Johnny Got His Gun, which, if you've not seen that, it's a film from the 70s where this guy he's been blown apart by a landmine in World War One or something like that, and basically he's just in a bed. He's got no arms, no legs, and most of his face is just gone, so he's got like a mask on, and it's just him in the hospital bed. And then he's got to try and communicate with the hospital staff. It's an incredibly depressing film, but I think it's really worth watching if you've got the stomach for something like that. But if Nolan's going to do a war film, I'd rather have it end like that as opposed to you're waiting for a boat. Bleh.
I'm waiting for a bloat or a boat. No, what you just told me, Trilbee, reminded me of like this scene from Family Guy. They did like a Misery parody.
Oh yeah.
And Brian runs over Stephen King, and like as he's Steve, because in midair he's like, "This might be a good idea for a story." And like he writes it down as he's getting hit by this car. No, but it's just that I could imagine Nolan. I think he wants to be respectful to the actual story and how this happened. This is set World War One, isn't it? Or is it
World War Two? It's set in 1940. Yeah,
okay. Wow, I was looking forward to World War One. Never mind. Okay, well then,
Wonder Woman is going to be the accurate retelling of World War One.
Yeah, I don't want DC's like hyper-colored, dark, serious, always trying to be interesting. I want a good filmmaker to do World War One. I'm sorry. It's my
I'd like to see some more movies of World War One, because when we get to homework, I got World War Two with Hacksaw Ridge. But yeah, World War One always gets overshadowed by its flashier, bigger brother of World War II.
Dude,
and everyone's
Zeppelin.
like, ooh, Nazis, they're sexy. And World War One's like, hey, what about me? I did a good job. I killed plenty of people. We had gas. Not the same way World War II did, but we had gas.
Have you ever seen Small
Sorry,
Soldiers?
guys, I haven't had much sleep.
Yes.
My brain is...
And in Small Soldiers, they're watching like a World War II film, and the guy says, "I think World War II was my favorite war."
I'm a Vietnam guy personally.
World War
no,
I's
but
like,
I
was the war to end all wars. Everyone's like, shut up, you're a loser.
Yeah, World War One is that like dweeby nerd in the cafeteria who all the other wars pick on.
World War's like a
He's
new
like,
hope,
but
and World War-
our use of gas in the trenches, and World War II's like, hey, I had a better use of gas, get over it.
Oh
Yeah, it's
God!
wonderful.
World War One's like a new hope, and everyone's just like, "Oh, hey, that was really crazy. That was insane." And then like Empire comes, World War II's like Empire comes around, which is like, wow, that changed everything.
In all seriousness, lest we forget the brave men who died in World War One and
Do
World
want to
War Two.
apologize if there's anyone who listening to this too. If any chance served in either of these wars,
That's right.
and anyone
Apologies to
who's
all of our
veteran-
grandparents, because I'm sure they were all
Yeah.
involved.
Wow.
Sorry,
And,
guys, my brain
Can we,
is
can we
completely
get No
scrambled.
Sleep
I haven't
Bandit?
had
Because
much sleep.
No Sleep Bandit has no filter. It's really fun to podcast with. Okay. Yes, apologies to anyone if we offended anybody, but what's whatever. He's coughing. It returns. Oh, speaking of things that made me ill, the Transformers: The Last Night trailer. So, I usually with these Transformers trailers, they're always just like, oh, hey, that looks pretty cool. I find something interesting to put in the trailers. This one just looked odd. And I'm not just talking about the aspect ratio changing constantly, because that bugged me beyond belief. I'm down for a different aspect ratio than 2:3:5, which is the standard black bars on the top and bottom of the screen. But when you go into like 2:3:5 to 1:8:5 to 1:9:1 to 2, I'm like, pick your size, please, because all it's doing is giving me a headache, and I don't especially when you're trying to watch it on your phone.
You noticed that from watching it on your phone?
Yeah.
I didn't. Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, maybe I pay attention to things like that because I'm working on
Snob.
Yeah. So I pay attention to things
The word you're looking for is snob.
because I love.
Well, you guys are
aspect
actual
ratio
filmmakers,
changes.
so you notice that stuff. I'm just like, oh.
Quote unquote filmmaker. Trilbee's an award-winning filmmaker.
An award-winning filmmaker. Thank you very much, everyone.
That's right.
Go watch Christmas Detectives now on Vimeo.
Side tangent. Good job, Trilbee.
Yeah,
Side tangent. If you ever see the new ad for Assassin's Creed, I don't know what they're marketing this movie to, because clearly they don't know. Because like sometimes it's like Kanye West music, yo, and another time it's like
God.
yeah, and one time it's like serious music, and it's like Academy Award nominee Michael Fassbender and Academy Award winner Jeremy Irons. I'm like, okay, they're trying to go for some more serious market, and then they did like a Christmassy ad. I'm like, what are they doing? What are they trying to do here?
On the first death of Christmas,
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm
assassin came
saying.
to me.
Yeah, I'm like, what are they trying to like? They have like the Carol of the Bells music, and like, what is this? And then, yeah, so this movie's gonna bomb. I guarantee it's not gonna do well. It's probably trash. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, Transformers.
Transformers. Yeah, the aspect ratio is you're probably going to have sequences, like whole scenes and sequences, which have one aspect ratio, and it will change every so often for a different scene. Like The Dark Knight did that, but because it was
the
whole
last
scenes, it's
Transformers
fine.
did that a lot. Like if you ever, if you ever were to see the last, not the last night, if you ever saw Age of Extinction, and you went and saw it in IMAX like I did, not trying to sound pretentious or anything. What I did notice is that the aspect ratio changed during the scene, back and forth. Sometimes it'd be like how it was in the trailer, and it bothered me because I'm like at least with a film like Doctor Strange will change it every so often. The Dark Knight will pick whole sequences for it, but you know in Dark Knight Rises, if for anyone that saw it in IMAX, when like Bane and Batman are fighting, and every 8 seconds it changed from like the black bars to the full screen again, and just it really bugs me when filmmakers do that. As much as I love Christopher Nolan, he's really prone to doing that. I don't know, but you talk about the actual trailer if we want.
It's kind of lame.
Yeah, didn't it suck?
I actually disagree, because when I watched this, I was like, God damn it, they've done it again. Because as much as the Transformers movies suck, the movies are usually good, because there's certainly no shortage of like action in the Transformers movies. So if you got a good like editor for the trailers, you can usually make the trailers look interesting. And this one, I watched it and I was like, oh God, they've done it again. I'm kind of interested now.
The opening, like 15
Everyone's like,
seconds, looks
why is
really
he
great.
stabbing Bumblebee? Why is Optimus like, forgive me? Shing! and going after Bumblebee.
No,
It's like
that was stupid. You know what else was really stupid? When like Josh Duhamel was like, it's over, guys, it's over," and Mark Wahlberg's like, "No, you don't understand. It's not over yet. We gotta have hope. We're Transformers are built on hope." I'm like, this is because like it's like I don't know how many times I can watch a Transformers movie where there's like this doesn't work anymore, and they're just like, "No, we can do this because we believe." It's I've seen. To be fair, I like the last Transformers movie. Correction, I like the first half of the last Transformers movie, and then it just became
2 hours of the first half.
Yeah, the whole. Funny enough, the first half is 90 minutes. I'll say that what you may about the length of the film. It just looks like everyday, average Michael Bay nonsense. I'm sure they're cutting out all the weird humor. I feel like the main love interest in this film is like underage. I think the main girl in this one was like 15 years old. So do with that as you. Oh, hit my pop filter. So do with that as you may, Michael Bay.
I didn't see any weird jailbait stuff in this like in the last trailer.
No. Well, I'm just saying.
Transformers trailer.
I'm just saying she's like 15, so do with that as you may, Michael Bay.
Well, she would have been even younger when they filmed it, so she's more like 14.
Yeah.
I think Michael Bay's trying to make it more extreme.
Yeah,
this girl's going to get younger every time.
I'm asking him to please be careful before something bad ends up happening with Michael Bay. And actually, you know what, Michael Bay, do what you want, and let's just put him in jail and get someone else to make these films. And let's pull Fast and Furious and make them good at 5. Mm.
I'm sorry to be the devil's advocate, quite literally in this case, because it's Michael Bay, but. Come on, it's Transformers, and in this one, he's got time travel, and he's got Nazis, and he's got King Arthur, and he's got Winston Churchill. I think
it's gonna be the same thing over and over.
It's gonna be great.
No, it's great. It's gonna be like
he's gonna have King Arthur with Excalibur. That'll probably be a Transformers sword.
It'll be
Excalibur. Here. Like Mark Wahlberg has to bring Excalibur to this one location, otherwise the Decepticons Unicron will take over or something like that. It'll be something stupid with a stupid MacGuffin, and it's gonna go on for 3 hours too long, and the Dinobots might show up for like 10 minutes. Then you're gonna have a weird. Creepy. Sorry, I'll let you talk.
But Trilbee, are you not excited to see both King Arthur and Winston Churchill in the same movie fighting robots?
Yeah, it's. I don't know how Hollywood got my spec script, but that is something that I'm really after. No, but I'll meet you halfway here, Bandit. And I think that the trailers for previous Transformers films have been awesome, despite the quality of the films.
Oh, yeah.
They make really good trailers, but this one really did feel flat. If you looked at just the synopsis. Or whatever, or who's involved, like Winston Churchill, Nazis, and King Arthur, and Optimus Prime's going to turn evil. Like the tagline for the poster is "Rethink Your Heroes," and so that's clearly going to be a big part of the movie. And if you just told me that synopsis, I'd be like, yeah, there could be hope here. But then, because Transformers are built on hope. But when you watch the trailer, it's just none of that's really there.
We'll finally get a good one, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. 5th time's the charm. It took 5 films for the Fast and Furious franchise to be watchable, so, there's precedent for this.
But they kept switching directors, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, I think this could be good, but this is just a really dull first trailer with there's no Devastator moment from the Transformers 2 trailer or the Grimlock transformation from the Age of Extinction teaser trailer. I know this is just a first trailer, but they should still have something more interesting to show, I think. I don't know.
No, you're right. You're right.
I'm sure it'll be remember the last trailer for the last movie when we saw the Dinobots and we're like, they're going to be such a huge part of the movie, and they definitely were.
The last half hour.
Yes. They were there for all of 2 minutes. Amazing.
I was all of 98 seconds. I'm pretty sure they were on screen.
You have to get through the entire length of another movie to get to the Dinobots and the Transformers 4.
The last time I saw, when I went and saw Transformers 4, I went opening night, by the way, and I heard my friend Christian said, I'm going to time from when the movie starts to when we get our first explosion. Apparently, it was 98 seconds. It was a minute and a half before we got our first explosion.
Sounds about right.
And so I can't be excited. With the exception of some of the cinematography in the opening shots, there's nothing in this trailer that we haven't seen in any other Transformers trailer before. And perhaps it's the reversal of where all the other trailers have been great to equal usually trash films, and then decent trash films with decent action and stuff in it, but. Maybe this is the one that's we have a bad trailer for a really great movie. It's not going to happen because Michael Bay doesn't have any self-control. He doesn't know how to restrain himself. He's the Zack Snyder of dumb action movies.
Right. And Trilbee, doesn't Doctor Who already have a Winston Churchill fighting robot Nazis?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, it was a Series 5 episode where Winston Churchill is with the Daleks. Yeah.
I will say this though: if Hitler turned out to
That's
be a
like the one
transformer,
episode I've seen.
if there's like
that's not a bad episode, actually.
if there's a
It's quite
Hitler
good,
transformer, I'm down for
Would
that.
you care for some tea? Yeah.
I'm down for a Hitler transformer. That's all I'll say. Like if Hitler turns out to be like Hitler's a Decepticon, I'm like, okay, you got me. Let's watch Hitler fight Optimus Prime.
Okay, right.
You got me.
How about over the course of the film, we've just got a normal guy who's a part of the main cast. Then all of a sudden, at the end, it's a third act reveal. A transformer, a tiny one, just crawls onto his face and transforms into the mustache, and then it turns out it's Hitler.
Then it's played, and that robot is played by Johnny Depp. Riveting.
Hail Megatron! Anyway, where were we?
All right, you guys want to move on?
Unless I don't think anything there's much else to talk about for Transformers 5.
I think that's fine for the Transformers trailer. I presume that's where Bandit's gone. He's gone to mute his mic to cough. Okay, no, because he's.
I muted my mic.
Yeah, I presume that's why he went quiet for a second to cough.
Oh god, the Hitler Transformer got him.
You just hear in the background, like, oh god. Let's move on. Speaking of Disney, let's talk about the Spider-Man Looks Pretty Good trailer. Spider-Man Homecoming. Mm-hmm. I like all of the Peter Parker stuff. The Spider-Man stuff seemed lacking, to say the least.
I can't believe I'm going to say this just after having defended the Transformers trailer, but I thought this one seemed kind of bland, this trailer. I mean, I have no doubt the movie's going to be amazing and everyone will love it, but this trailer just kind of seemed paint by numbers to me. Did you guys get that?
I got that with the Spider-Man stuff. The Spider-Man stuff felt a little generic. I think the web wings look ridiculous. But I do like the part with the Avengers and the bank, robbing the bank. But besides that, I think the standout here is all the Peter Parker stuff when he's in high school or when he's talking to Robert Downey Jr., who we can call him Tony Stark, but they just got Robert Downey Jr. for a day and just shot him some stuff in the car.
Yeah,
and like this, like he probably didn't even have a script. So
he's in school watching footage of the Civil War fight that there's no way anyone could have been that close to actually video it, and they've obviously just taken the footage from the actual movie.
I hate movies do that where I'm like, there's no way they got that footage. Don't lie to me. Stop that. Or maybe he's like imagining it and seeing it on his computer screen. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Unless Vision was like phasing in and out with his iPhone going, whoa, such a great shot, you know.
Vision. I've got a great vision for the scene, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's just a massive walking, talking advert for GoPros.
Like maybe if it was like from his perspective fighting giant men, maybe, but you see him swinging around.
If it is from Vision's point of view, I want to see the sequence where he goes inside Giant Man to go through him.
Oh god.
That'd be great.
Something just flew in me. Yeah, I want to see what his innards look like.
Yeah, or maybe like it's just
Vision's like filming of that would just be like him filming Scarlet Witch the whole time, you know. Just
that's exactly what I was about to say. I was like, so would it just be him like accidentally, I say quote unquote, walking into Scarlet Witch's room every now and then?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He just phases through the wall, and you just hear this.
Like, that was that Vision, or is that Bandit watching Rogue One?
And I can just see like all of the Vision footage is just him looking at Scarlet Witch, and Scarlet Witch is like, no, look at me in the eyes. Look up here. My eyes are up here.
And like I look at you, but it's like Vision's face, but you see like his eyes just like like stuck in a glance. Oh my! All right, there we go. That's enough.
I wouldn't mind betting that if you lined the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer up against any other Marvel trailer, they'd line up in terms of like, here's the introduction scene, then here's the goofing around scene with the music in the background of some semi-popular band, and then you have that the geek out shot at the end of the trailer. It was like so by numbers, paint by numbers. Like
I feel like this might have been Sony's fault because Marvel's trailers have been exceptional pretty much lately. I've loved a lot of the Marvel trailers that have been out. But I do think this is kind of Sony's doing. At least there's not a line of I have to be the only one that can do this because it's up to us.
Yes,
at least there's none of
right.
that in here. Like
because
You
in
found
my
that, Trilbee, didn't you?
Ghostbusters video, my Ghostbusters video, I just hypothesized that Sony have a literal template in which to make trailers, and I don't think that this trailer goes to that formula, but this is a Sony trailer, I think, especially when contrasted against the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, which, it's exactly what we expect from a Guardians film, but it just feels so much more vibrant and alive and so much more entertaining. This is a good trailer, it's fine, but it is clearly a trailer that you show on Jimmy Kimmel. It is is the trailer. That's where it debuted. It has to be as mainstream.
Why do they keep forcing us to watch Jimmy Kimmel? We don't want to see Jimmy Kimmel. Nobody watches TV anymore. Sony, nobody cares.
Pardon my French.
Spider-Man belongs on the internet, not on Jimmy Kimmel.
Sony manufactures TVs, so they're kind of relying on people watching TV.
Pardon my French, but why the fuck is Jimmy Kimmel hosting the Oscars? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm like, Kevin Spacey was right there, and The Rock was right there. Yeah. But no, let's just get Jimmy Kimmel because ABC he's ABC's darling. I'm like, what is this? What are you trying to pull, Disney?
He must have one of the most punchable faces on TV too.
God,
every time I see his face, he's like.
I was trying to watch some Rogue One, and it was like, oh, gross! It's Jimmy Kimmel. No.
Hey, speaking of things we hate, don't worry, we'll cycle back to Spider-Man: Homecoming. But speaking of Sony things, have you heard Sony's upcoming project of Barbie movie?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because they're like, we have the rights to Barbie, and they said, you know what? Let's cast Margot Robbie as Barbie. And then they said, you know what? That makes way too much sense. Let's instead get rid of Margot Robbie and bring in Amy Schumer, the fat, blubbering land whale. Amy Schumer, pump in loads of feminist messages.
Christ, Bandit!
And body positivity messages. Let's cram all that in because it worked so well for Ghostbusters. Good job, Sony.
Right.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Trilbee, we need to teeter around this real quick.
Okay.
All right. Let's apologize to anyone that is not a size 0. I want to apologize. You are not a fat, lumbering land whale.
What I will say for this casting, I'm not optimistic for the Barbie movie, at all. Just saying.
Schumer,
but as for Amy Schumer, I think she's been funny in the film she's done, like Trainwreck. And I think that because she does have experienced voice acting, she's done spots on BoJack Horseman, Bob's Burgers, The Simpsons, and things like that. So there is precedent for this. But I feel like Bandit is annoyed at the whole politically correct aspect of the casting, which, from what I can tell, that stuff of the body positivity stuff came after the backlash. It came after the backlash that Amy Schumer was playing the role. Let's look at this in order. They announced Amy Schumer's playing Barbie. There's a backlash against Amy Schumer, and then they do the body positivity. There's a sequence of events, and the thing that you dislike about this Bandit was in reaction to the casting.
I appreciate,
and
I appreciate
Amy
the
Schumer
fact
in general.
I don't like.
Yeah,
she seems like a pretty horrible person in real life.
She probably is. She made a pretty funny Aaron Sorkin sketch, but it's set in a fast food restaurant. But I will say this: I appreciate Sony doing that message. I do think because Barbie is still a popular thing, and she is still definitely setting. While she is doing other things besides cooking and being a model, she's like doing doctors and lawyers and stuff, which is always nice. But
she's doing doctors and lawyers.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
That's a good message for the children.
No, but I appreciate. I keep hitting my damn pop. I appreciate Sony stepping into and doing something positive. And you can say what you will about the new Ghostbusters movie. It did at least, there were inspirations. It did give little girls something to aspire to be, and I do appreciate what they're doing with that. However, I'm not sure Amy Schumer is the best person to teach little girls how to do certain things. And I don't like Amy Schumer as a person. However, Bandit, I must also add to say and not condone your actions of calling people fat lumbering land whales, because that's just not a cool thing to do, man. Like,
it was fat lumbering land whale.
Oh, crap. And he doubles down.
But look, the idea of a Barbie movie, that's a great idea. If it was a movie of like Ken and Barbie from remember Ken and Barbie from Toy Story 3? Remember them?
Oh, yes.
That was great.
Yeah,
I would
totally
watch that movie.
I'm down for that movie.
Absolutely, I would love to watch that movie. But it's
Barbie's a strong character in that movie, yeah.
Especially like if they went with their original pick of like Margot Robbie in that role, she'd be great in that role. She'd do comedy. She'd be fantastic. But it's like, and yeah, it is a lot of the anti-feminist thing. But look, it's obviously
well, as the feminist of the podcast, because the Wikia says so.
Yeah. That's right.
Oh yeah, we are all applying.
That's why I thought
Shelby's
I'd bring it
being
up while we're on
PC.
Sony.
I'm being manic about it. It's just Bandit is being rather cynical right now.
But
oh Christ!
Grace
Well, it
Randolph
wasn't.
Sorry, what?
Sorry, you go, Bandit. Sorry. Well, I was going to say, wasn't Margot Robbie going to be the live action Barbie, and the same Schumer one's going to be a voice CGI film? Is it? Oh, am I wrong there? I don't know.
I thought it was going to be live action, wasn't it?
I have no idea. I thought it was going to be CGI, but forgive me if I'm not tuned into the Barbie chronology here.
Yeah, I think it's changed a couple of times. So I think the idea was supposed to be one of those things where like Barbie lives in Barbie world and then comes into the real world. I think that was like one
Enchanted.
of the versions of the script sort of thing.
Enchanted.
So they're going to Smurf it.
Yeah,
we'll call it Smurf it. I prefer to say Enchanted because I think Enchanted's a good movie and the Smurfs is horse feces. But
this is one of those stories that's come out from the Sony hacks where the script's bounced around for years and has changed a lot of times and all that sort of stuff. But I was thinking like, because Grace Randolph did a really good video about sort of feminism in Star Wars, and of course she's a feminist. And I really like Grace Randolph. I know not everyone likes Grace Randolph. I don't agree with everything she says, especially when she said Guardians of the Galaxy was boring.
Or that Deadpool needs to be PG for a little boy.
Right.
But
she made a good point with a lot of the feminist stuff with Star Wars, which I suppose we can talk more about when we get into Rogue One. But she was saying because the woman who's
we still have to talk about Rogue One. Whoops.
The woman who's the head of Disney, who's putting like Rey as the main character in like the main Star Wars trilogy and Jyn Erso and all the rest of it. But she said you can't ignore the fact that Star Wars was built off the back of nerdy guys, which it is. And it's just like it's a really good video. I highly recommend people watch it. But also, it got me thinking. I was like, is this whole feminist thing really a worthwhile business model? Because like men don't really care, and less than 1 in 5 women consider themselves a feminist. So, is it even really worth? Like, I mean, I understand like Barbie and all that, but that just seems like cinematic poison to me.
I can see where you're coming from when you say something like, is it inherently worth it? But I do think it's worth it because you need to establish that maybe don't do it to the detriment of your characters. But I think someone like a Jyn Erso, and without getting into Rogue One too much, someone like a Jyn Erso or Rey or even a Leia, having a powerful female, not necessarily powerful, a strong female character in your film, because you want to get the message across that women are just as powerful or can be even more powerful than a man can. And I think the best kind of movies that give that kind of message are more subtle about it, where it doesn't matter that she has, I won't be crass. It doesn't matter that she's a woman, that it just matters that she is a strong character. And that, I think, like going back to 10 Cloverfield Lane, it didn't matter that she was a female character. She just had to be a really strong character in general. But I do think at the same time, something like Barbie that has had, I don't know why we're getting so strong to Barbie by all of a sudden, but something
Sorry,
like Barbie.
I distracted us.
It's
we
fine.
will get
it's
back
whatever.
to Spider-Man Homecoming, folks.
Something like Barbie that has always kind of had this, especially in the last couple of decades, it's had this stigma about it, about how it needs to better represent females and give girls something to aspire towards other than being pretty and perfect and plastic. And so I think that Amy Schumer may not be the best person to do that, but I do respect the message that Sony is trying to go towards. Maybe don't be so on the nose about it. Maybe don't have the basic plot being that Barbie's kicked out because she's not perfect.
Yeah.
I think that might be a little too on the nose, and I think that's why people are getting so bugged by it. But to say that moving towards a more quote unquote feministic message is Hollywood poison just seems to be rather close-minded, if just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of built into the Barbie character, but again, Toy Story 3 covered that, and it did it really well.
Yeah,
just do it
Barbie,
like that.
and Barbie
just
was a strong character.
Lego Movie meets the characters from the Barbie from Toy Story 3. Like, I would totally watch that. Don't go with Amy Schumer
but at the
and
same
body
time,
positivity.
At the same time, I don't think you can do a Barbie movie without touching on that issue at least a little, because it is such a strong thing with the Barbie character.
Yeah,
It's
like a character like Barbie and Wonder Woman, they come with that baggage in their DNA and how they've progressed through history. So it would be weird if you didn't do anything like that. At least like in terms of, if you are trying to make a movie that's not just Barbie and the princess and the pop star and all the like, if you were trying to do something a bit more substantial, that's kind of the angle you do go with, because that is built into the DNA of this character, into the iconography that's been around for decades. Like, how old is Barbie? Like, how old is the franchise?
I don't
57 years ago.
Yeah. You don't necessarily have to get a Ghostbusters every time you get a movie with female characters. You know what I'm saying? Like, not every movie is going to have to make men characters idiots to have a strong female character. I just think Ghostbusters may put a bad taste in people's mouths with the whole feminist thing.
Yeah, like you can have a film like, say, Fantastic Beasts, where you've got, like, it seems like a pretty nice gender balance in terms of like how, like, that's in my eyes a feminist film, because the men and women of the series are just as capable as each other. You get something like Moana, which the issue of gender never comes up, even though Moana is like the lead of the film. That's a feminist film because it's about the equality of
maybe it would have been more interesting than what we got, though. That's all I'm gonna say. Maybe it would have been more interesting, but whatever.
Yeah, possibly. Zootopia. Like, that's also that could be considered a feminist film. Finding Dory.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, or some of the biggest films of the year, I would, even if they don't wear a label on their sleeves, they don't need to have a label or anything like that, but I would consider them being in that sort of subcategory, if that makes sense. And these are just some of the biggest films of the year. They just don't have a label. It's when you attach that label, like, say, Barbie or Ghostbusters, or to an extent Star Wars. I remember all the boycott Star Wars because they've got a black stormtrooper, or they've got a Mary Sue. Like, when you attach a label, or when a label is attached to something, that's when there's a backlash. It's almost as if people are wanting to be offended nowadays.
I
wonder if that's true.
Before we get, I won't spoil Rogue One for anybody, and we'll get into Rogue One later on.
That's
but
well said.
I feel like they went really far to make sure that Jyn Erso was not going to be a Mary Sue to, like, the most extreme extent. And I'll get to that later, but, like, I feel like they really wanted to make sure people were like, she's not a Mary Sue because of one very obvious thing.
Yeah.
But
well, she does still have a scene where she beats up people. Everyone's like, whoa, she's a tough chick. But apart from that,
hated that. God,
it did make sense because she's got a gun and she runs in there and starts.
Use your gun. Stick. What are you doing?
It's war.
But that clip's online, so it's not a spoiler.
Spider-Man: Homecoming and #Sony is cancer. That's what we've got here, right?
No, but I think you're right.
Let's start a hashtag. Hashtag. What was it? What's it called? Like blubbering land whale.
Hashtag fat blubbering land whale. There we go.
Hashtag make Barbie blubbery again.
Hashtag size 0, hashtag perfection.
But I think you hit the nail on the head there, Trilbee, when you said it's more so the label that people have a problem with. You know, like, because nobody cares about Wonder Woman being Wonder Woman, but if she's like, whoa, girl power, then everyone's like, now I'm going to get angry at this. So, it's like, make good characters and don't beat us over the head with the label. That's what we want.
It's like what I've discovered as someone who's been called an SJW on several occasions, despite me being pretty moderate, I think, is that like 99% of people are for equality of gender, equality of race, and stuff like that. Like, at least in terms of people I know. But then once you attach, like, they say, "Oh, I'm a feminist," then you've got an issue with people. Even though it does literally just mean, like, the equality. I don't like.
I do find it odd that people will say something like, "Oh, you support gender equality, so that would make you a feminist. And people suddenly go, no, I'm not one of those. I'm not one of those nasty feminists. I'm like, well, you kind of are, but it's whatever. Like that, like you just insulted their family or something when you say the word feminist. And it's really, but at the same time, for starters, I have an English teacher that's a really like hardcore feminist, and I can understand why people have such a negative connotation with the feminist movement. But I cut you off, Bandit. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I just love how we've all just come to accept whatever is written about us on the WikiLeaks page as like canon now.
Yeah.
So if it says Trilbee's a feminist, we're all just like, well, it's official now. We all just accept it.
Great. Now I'm just going to carry on through life having to conform to these labels I've been given. I'm affiliated with Disney, which makes sense. I worked with them for like 2 weeks at one point. So.
Did he forget Netflix?
Yeah. Worked with Netflix, worked with the BBC, Channel 4, Channel 5, ITV. Whoever's writing the wiki page, I hope you're writing this down, because there will be a test on this later.
Yeah, take notes.
Well, apparently also, according to the WikiLeaks page, I didn't know this about myself, but it must be true, I'm actually half Native American. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. That's great.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah,
I was like, I had no idea I was, but hey, WikiLeaks must be true.
Really far away from you to be half Native American.
I was going to say it's the wiki, but you keep on saying WikiLeaks as if Julian Assange just found out your nationality.
I'm like, if you're half Native American, then that means there has been some far traveling for you to be half Native American. I'm like, that's really, oh man.
I've got Bandit's family like breed through sports through the air. This is all part of the wiki page.
Oh god.
That would explain
I've
why
said
I
it.
cough so
It
much,
is now canon. You are as canon as Daryl in the MCU.
I'm going to go to the WikiLeaks page and say, Trey has adopted a velociraptor named Terry, or something like that. You know?
Terrence. Terrence the velociraptor.
No,
I'm
called
going to
Alan.
adopt any
That's
animal.
right.
It's definitely gonna be that weird space monkey from Rogue One. It's like shooting out of the ship at the beach. Oh, I love that little thing. Okay.
So yeah,
Space Monkey
Spider-Man
President.
Homecoming. Yeah, looks good.
Looks fine.
Sorry, guys, I totally derailed.
I do like that really sad hug that happens. That was pretty fun. Look,
Oh, yeah,
I'm not giving
just
you a
get
hug.
the door.
I'm just getting the door. Yeah, that was really fun.
That was
Yeah.
good. Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
we should probably move on because it's been an hour.
Yeah, it has been an hour. Okay, sorry, War for the Planet of the Apes. Oh well, looks
Trailer
good.
looked cool.
Yeah,
Trailer
looks
looks
good.
cool.
Look good.
It's gonna be just as
Hey,
good as
what's
the other
what's
one, I
funny?
imagine. Hopefully, it's not as bleak as the last one because I was depressed as hell coming out of the last one.
Oh,
So,
Mika, I know it.
oh god,
Yeah, I think that Scarface guy's going to come back from the dead. I think that's what's going to happen.
Then it'll become a comedy because there's no way you come back from that. So,
Zombie monkeys.
Well, they did put a teaser in at the end credits where you hear him sort of like breathing, sort of like he's still alive. Because remember when he fell, he didn't just fall. He kind of like hit a chord and then swung and then hit something else, and that kind of fell. So you're like, he could have survived.
no, I thought they were implying that like he fell. He didn't just Hans Gruber. He like Hans Grubered and like hit a crane on the way down. The crane fell on him, then exploded. So I don't know what you're like. I don't know what you're on about. I don't know how you come back from something like that. But
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
that's true though. Like the director did say they put in the sound of him breathing at the end in case they want to bring him back. So it could happen. It could happen.
I don't want that. That's stupid.
I didn't even remember that happening. What, that sound of breathing?
Yeah, I mean,
when was it?
I didn't hear it either, but I do know that the director did say that. Like there's
Okay,
some
well,
kind
I've
of
just-
breathing or snorting or something that's you recognise as Scarface's Kubo,
Okay.
Kobo, or
Ko-
whatever
Ko-
his name is.
Koba.
Kobo.
I'm just looking on
You
the...
see
the-
Koba sitting at a desk snorting cocaine. Oh, the threequel sped off, and the movie can still be called Scarface. There you go.
Hail to the
Yes!
chimp. Yeah, there we go.
Hail to the ship.
He's like, now I rule Planet of the Apes.
If this film doesn't end
Caesar
with
comes
like
up and
Charles
is like,
Heston coming
your
back,
rule is illegitimate. And he'd be like, because you'd be in jail. Yeah, that'll work.
Koba wins in a strange landslide election. Koba has won.
Russian chimps are suspected to have been behind the victory. Make America bananas again.
No, it'd be the Russian bear that they killed at the beginning of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
Yes. Can we find like some weird connection between Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and the Revenant? Like it all takes place in the same universe.
Those two cubs of the bear that was killed, they come back. They're like, we have come back for our revenge.
Yeah, what happened is that when DiCaprio went into was buried alive, he actually did die, and then he comes back to life like 5 years later, and then it turns out it's just Planet of the Apes now.
Yeah, like apes are just taking over. Like in the twist, like that's like he's looking for I've come looking for a Fitzgerald, and like an ape turns around, like it's like it's like what happened?
Oh god,
It's like Tom Hardy.
I'd love to see Leonardo DiCaprio with his how good he is at playing being in agony. I'd love to see him doing that "damn you" and punching the sand bit. Oh, that'd be amazing.
Oh, he would ham it up. Like he would do like Django Unchained. That's bad. He's like,
oh yeah, he punches the sand, and then it turns out there was a broken bottle in the sand, and his hand's bleeding, but he carries on.
But he just keeps doing the scene because he's DiCaprio. There we go.
a temper tantrum.
And there's us saying that we're not going to talk about any more trailers because we've been on for like an hour, and then we just go on this massive tangent when we could have been talking about the trailer.
Okay. So we can go to homework, or we can jump right into Rogue One. I'll leave that to you guys.
Can we do homework? Because I want to talk about Hacksaw Ridge. It's been a while. So I've been meaning to talk about it for a while.
Right on, guys. Let's get in the homework section.
This week, each one of you has a homework assignment.
Your homework is to listen to some real music, get inspired.
Is this your homework, Larry?
Down with homework?
So, welcome to the homework section. Trey is off doing something.
He said, and I quote, "I'm going drinking, bitches."
That's right.
Yep. Although, okay, I've actually had an idea. Like Bandit, you got to play along with me here. I've been recently watching Parks and Recreations,
really?
And I love it. And there's an awesome scene where this guy, Nick Offerman, I think is the actor's name. He says, "Okay, what I'm going to do just to mess with these guys is that I'm going to answer every question with another question." So I'm going to do that to Trey when he comes back.
Okay.
So when Trey comes back, I'm going to answer every question he asks with another question and see how well I do.
God, it's a good thing I can hear my laptop as I walk away. That's a fantastic thing.
You ruined
damn
it.
Yeah.
Damn it!
I didn't even get to go pee yet, and I was like, you're already going to pull some prank on me. Man, you guys are fantastic.
It wasn't a prank. It was more of a challenge for me.
That's
all right, right on.
Just do it next episode once he's forgotten you said that.
I'll definitely forget about like 20 minutes. All right, see you.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'll do that. But are you going to leave that in and just bleep out my F-bomb?
Did you drop the F-bomb? I can't remember.
I did. I said fuck.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah. But I said it when it turned out Trey was listening.
I love since... Isn't that the new rule of the show? Everyone gets one or something like that?
I thought that was just swear. I didn't know how far we could take it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's ever since Mr. Sunday Movies, I think that rule just sort of got established. So whatever, it's a custom. So you and I, Trilbee, we both saw different movies. I saw Hacksaw Ridge. What was the movie you saw?
Moana, Disney's new animated film.
Cool. Do you want to tell us about Moana?
Okay. Basically, animated musical film based on Polynesian culture. Young girl named Moana is chosen by the ocean to return this weird gem, this weird stone, into an island in order to save the world from dying to this darkness thing. The plot doesn't really matter. It's mainly just all about, it's a road trip movie, but it's by boat with this teenage girl and also The Rock, who plays the demigod Maui, and it's a lot of fun. I actually thought there was a really good Disney film.
Trash film.
Yeah, Trey wasn't a big fan. Aren't we meant to be peeing?
I got back. You know, it doesn't take that long. Yeah.
I bet he didn't even wash his hands. That's how quick he was.
I definitely washed my hands, kind of.
I know, yeah, whenever he hits the microphone again, he's going to get a big, weird smear on it now. It's going to happen. That's what you get for ruining my prank, Trey. But But yeah,
I found it disturbing that he said, "I got to go pee," and you translated that into, "I'm going drinking."
I'm going drinking.
Trilbee gets reminded of his Friday nights. No,
so Moana,
I
I actually, because I have no idea what this is about, but when I saw it, I figured it was the sequel to that animated movie. Was it Croods or Croods?
The Croods.
The Croods, yeah. I thought it was the main girl in that. It is it? Or is it not?
No. The Croods was a DreamWorks film with Nicolas Cage like 5-6 years ago.
I thought
it was the sequel to that. Starring the chick.
No,
she looks like the same character.
Wrong.
They look quite different, but I kind of see the result. Maybe if I squint a bit.
They dress kind of the same, maybe.
Yeah, but anyway, I thought that the film was pretty good. It was, if you are sick of the Disney cliches and all of the things that can be mocked or ridiculed, then this actually does follow the Disney formula by the book, but it does so in a really polished way. I think that this is basically... It's not trying to rewrite the rule book like, say, Frozen did, or trying to be something incredibly different like maybe Wreck-It Ralph or Big Hero 6.
Big Hero 6 was definitely not something different, but let's agree to disagree, Trilbee.
From Disney?
No, absolutely not. What do you mean it was something different?
From Disney, I thought it was.
Yeah, well, main character has an older brother character, older familiar character from the first act that dies. Yeah. Oh man, shocker! Every Disney movie ever.
Yeah, Bambi didn't become a superhero.
Yeah, but he still became something greater. It's the classic Disney story. Oh, you lose somebody, so you become something better than what you were before.
Anyway,
like that's every Disney movie. Sorry,
and Moana is.
I'm like yelling at you.
And Moana's just a really polished version of that. So it's a movie that's kind of preaching to the already converted. Like, if you love Disney princess films, I can imagine this just being a really solid film. I thought it had a lot of heart. I really liked Dwayne Johnson. I don't think he's an incredible singer like you'd get, say, Adele Dazeem or whoever it was from Frozen. But I thought he handled his song really well. It's really fun. I think Lin-Manuel Miranda, who was the composer of Hamilton, who did the music for this, I thought he did a really good job. I think there's a little bit of fat in the second act which you could really cut, like Jermaine Clement plays a giant hoarding crab whose shell is made of diamonds and gold. It's interestingly designed, but I think you could lose most of that scene and just be done with it.
It's my favorite scene of the movie.
I think he's got a pretty cool song, but then when you just think, what did he do for the plot? It didn't really do an awful lot. Yeah. I liked Maui's tattoos, which were all 2D hand-drawn animation. I thought that aesthetically that looked like something from Hercules, which was a really refreshing approach. And I thought, I'm not normally a fan of the whole Disney songs when it's like, out there I'm dreaming of something more, like one of those songs like First Time in Forever from Frozen, or
Out There from Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah, Out There from Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Adventure in the Great Wide Somewhere or whatever from Beauty and the Beast. But I actually thought that Moana's version of that was one of the better ones. I love its reprise in the third act when I'm just going to say Stingray. I thought that was just a really cool image.
Fantastic scene. Way too short, but I love the scene.
Oh yeah,
that's how I felt about a lot of the music in the film in general. I thought the music I thought it was way too, because like Frozen. Say what you will about Frozen, they took time to sit there and let the music play out. You know what I'm saying? All the songs, with the exception of the Rocks song, felt really short and really underplayed. Like, I mean, that's why I didn't have time to really sit down and enjoy the music. Everything, the music just felt like it was cut off at the wrong time. The editing of the music was weird, which is odd because it's an animated movie. You think they'd get the editing down, but
yeah, I think it was kind of weird how they teased that the comedic animal sidekick is going to be this pig.
Yes,
and then all of a sudden, it turns out to be, and this is not a politically correct word, but I think it's medically accurate, a retarded rooster.
Yes.
And I think it's deliberately stupid.
That's the hashtag of this episode, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. And I think that because they are trying to upend it by saying, "Oh, this is the cute little animal," but psych, you got the rooster, and I think, okay, that's maybe a fun play on the conventions, but it does nothing for the plot. You could literally remove the rooster, and nothing in the movie would change.
When you wanted a pet, but you got Alan Tudyk instead.
Yeah, which, and as we've seen from Rogue One, he's a really funny voice actor, and I enjoy it. He was in Zootopia as well. He played.
Transformers 3. He's in Transformers 3. He's really good in it.
He's a really good voice actor, and like he's kind of in Disney's pocket right now after Zootopia, after Rogue One, after Moana. He's a good guy.
A lot of movies.
Have you seen Con Man?
No.
Basically, he you know the story of Firefly, and Alan Tudyk was in that series.
Yeah. Never seen it, but I know he dies in Serenity because of the internet.
Oh,
so.
Spoilers.
My apologies.
And I know it's an old series, but I actually never saw Serenity until about a year ago, and I had no idea about that ending. So, but thankfully it wasn't spoiled for me then. Just saying.
My apologies. The movie came out 11 years ago.
I know.
Bruce was dead the whole time. Luke, I'm your father.
But yeah, and basically,
Han Solo died. Sorry, I'm sorry.
And Con Man is this web series that he did with Nathan Fillion, where he plays this like over-the-top exaggerated version of himself who was in a sci-fi series that was cancelled too soon, and he just goes to all these conventions and meets celebrities, and it's a really funny series, and you're able to get it on DVD or watch the episodes online or on iTunes. I really recommend it. Alan Tudyk is really good in almost everything that he does.
It's a shame all he got to do is make rooster noises in this movie, so...
I first saw Alan Tudyk in A Knight's Tale, and like the first shot of him was just his bare ass. So that was a really lovely introduction to Alan Tudyk. Have you seen A Knight's Tale?
No, is that the Heath Ledger one?
Yeah, and
I've seen the DVD cover. I've seen the DVD covers. My family has that movie, so
there we go. That's your review. I saw the DVD cover. Film was clearly not good.
Not terrible. 6 out of 10. Yeah.
That's all right. That's actually kind of an accurate score, I think. There's a post-credit scene at the end of Moana. Don't bother. It was really lazy, just fan service. But I think that Ollie Cravallo, or Lily Cravallo, or however you pronounce her name, was awesome. Something like that. Yeah, she was awesome as Moana. I thought she had really, really good singing voice, and considering that she's never done a film before, I think this is a really great introduction.
It's really hard to follow up Idina Menzel, but I thought her singing voice was serviceable. Yeah, we'll go that far.
Yeah. She's not classically trained or anything like Adele Dazeem or whatever, but I think
her songs never really, like I said, the music doesn't really ever allow it to crescendo. Do you remember that song that came out last year for the Bond film Spectre, Writings on the Wall by Sam Smith? Like, they followed up. Yes, it's good job, Trilbee. I really enjoy.
That's how it goes.
No, I
sound like Eric Cartman singing.
Sorry, I do enjoy the artistic of Cartman. No, I do enjoy that song, but it never has that great crescendo. It never really builds to anything like Adele's did in Adele in Skyfall. But I feel like the songs in Moana are much like that, of where they don't ever really get that really orchestral build, like something out of, dare I say, Frozen, or even Tangled for that matter, with him that I love. It's just it never really, and like you get one moment. And even that moment, they don't let the camera. They don't just let the song play out. You know what I'm saying? Which is why maybe it's because its actors weren't as great singers as the people were in movies like a movie like Frozen, and so they just didn't let the actor.
I'm amazed you guys have so much to say about this movie, because you guys talked about it on the last episode too.
Well, I hadn't seen it.
You hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah. All right.
But I think that the third act has probably been cut in the editing room and truncated or whatever, because there's like a character returns in the third act with no motivation, and we just have to accept it. And there's a couple of things like that. But I'm not going to be like defending this film with my life. But I clearly liked it a lot more than Trey.
I have a question. Did they ever reveal that the island was a woman? Was that a thing that they said at the beginning of the film? Was that set up and I just missed it? Because when that island turned out to be spoilers. When that island turned out to be sorry.
The island was abroad.
I was like, what? I was like, what's going on?
The opening exposition, narration, animation parts done by Moana's grandmother did establish that she was a woman.
Okay, briefly, so like 90 minutes before that then. Okay, that's nice to know. Good. I'm glad
did
that
the
came
island
back.
have So the island was.
No,
Did the island have like a?
The island didn't have a bush.
That, I was going to say, does it have a volcano that erupts once a month?
Oh, fuck.
Oh, shit. You know what? We should probably.
How do I live? How do I be?
We should probably cut that.
I jest, of course. I'm a feminist. I respect.
We may. You sounded so sincere, Bandit. We may have to do a Ted Cloverfield play where we may have to bleep that line out because that might be.
No.
This
is the no bleeping episode.
Oh, Christ. Stop it.
Bandit, talk about something else. Hacksaw Ridge.
All right, Hacksaw Ridge. Okay, so you're done with Moana?
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how to follow that. 8 out of 10. Moana.
So Hacksaw Ridge. 10 years after Mel Gibson went off on his racist, anti-Semitic, drunken rant and made a total ass of himself, 10 years later, Mel Gibson has now sobered up, he's gotten his life together again, and he's back directing movies, and he's made Hacksaw Ridge, and it's really good. It's really, really good. And a lot of people talking maybe Oscars buzz and all this sort of stuff. And for anyone who doesn't know, Hacksaw Ridge is it's World War II movie based off a true story of a guy who wanted to serve in World War II. He wanted to help out, but because he was religious, again, Mel Gibson movie, because he's religious, he doesn't want to kill anyone. So he wants to serve as a field medic, but refuses to pick up a gun. Like, he won't kill anyone else. And this is a big problem because they're like, well, they sent him to go against the Japanese, and they said, well, the Japanese kill like injured people in the battlefield. Like, are you going to protect them, or are you just going to let the Japanese kill these people? So it was very difficult for him. And the first half of the movie is him like going through his training and him sort of struggling with the army, who are like, look, if you're not going to pick up a gun, we don't have much use for you, all this sort of stuff. He eventually overcomes, and they let him do what he wants, of go out there without a weapon or anything like this, and just save lives rather than take lives. And it's really good. First half's really good. Second half is like that's where Mel Gibson's love of gore and violence comes in once again. And it's like you remember the Saving Private Ryan, the D-Day scene at the beginning of the movie? It's like that on steroids.
When the door opens up, the guy just get, like,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's like it starts where like because they're trying to take this peak that if they called Hacksaw Ridge, if they take this peak where the Japanese are holding out, they'll the pathway towards Tokyo and ending the war and all that will be pretty much open. And because this Hacksaw Ridge, it's like built on a cliff, and there's all tunnels and there's bunkers everywhere, so they're like really dug in, the Japanese guys. And it's basically just a big meat grinder, just wave after wave of like Americans and all that are going in and just getting grinded up. And the opening scene when they go in, it's filmed like a horror movie. There's just like body parts strewn all around the place, and this mist is floating over all the rotting carcasses, and there's like crows picking at people. And this guy sort of like thinks he sees someone who's still alive, and he like goes over and he like touches him a bit, and he jumps up and he goes, "Aah!" And like half his face is like ripped off.
Boogity.
It's like yeah, it's like a horror movie. But so yeah, the second half of the movie, once it's in the battle scene, is a lot of that Mel Gibson gore, which is awesome, which is really awesome. But I'd be interested to see what you think of it, Trilbee, as well, because it's a little. I know you don't like all of the rah-rah American Sniper movie, all the rah-rah elements of that. This has a bit of that with World War II, and again, because it's a Mel Gibson movie.
Define rah-rah.
You know, like the rah-rah pro-American war is great kind of thing. That's
okay.
What you didn't like about American Sniper and all that. There's a bit of that in this. Not really, though, I suppose, because the main character doesn't like violence and all that, but Mel Gibson obviously does like violence, because a lot of the battle scenes are insane. And, of course, again, Mel Gibson movie, so all white guys, going out there killing Asian people. All the bad guys are not white. and all this. And it stars Andrew Garfield. And I saw in some interviews, everyone's with Andrew Garfield's like, "You're Jewish. Did you feel a little bit uncomfortable working for Mel Gibson?" With the things he said before. He's like, no, it's fine. But yeah, it's a really good movie, and it was filmed in Australia. So for me, it was kind of like Spot the Aussie, where like a lot of the different soldiers in that, I was like, I know that guy. He's been on Australian TV. I know that guy. So it was kind of cool.
Guy in that random Australian soap opera, you're like, oh hey, yeah.
Yeah, there literally was. And there's like a half Maori, half Aussie guy that's we call them Mozzies, half Maori, half Aussie, Mozzies, and because he's been there's this Mozzie guy who's been in a lot of Aussie stuff, and he plays, I think he's supposed to be like an Italian American dude, and like he's in it. So yeah, it was like Spot the Aussie. Sam Worthington's in it. Yes, apparently he's still around. Sam Worthington.
Glad to see. He's talented, man. People are crapping all over Sam Worthington. I think he's really good when he gets those smaller roles. So
yeah, he can do a good job. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Like, it's definitely like the cinematography and all that. I can see why they're talking about it should get Oscars, and everyone's like, this could be Mel Gibson's redemption. And yeah, I think it's definitely worth a look, and I definitely hope it does get Oscars and all that. And good for you, Mel Gibson, that you sobered up and you're getting back on the horse again. Good on you. And look forward to seeing Passion of the Christ 2, which he is making, by the way.
Crucified.
No, there's no way. Family Guy already did Passion of the Christ 2.
He's doing it after Jesus gets resurrected. Some of the stuff.
So,
which I think is like
please tell me they're
pages of the Bible or something. So he's turning a whole movie into that because he says he's going to turn that into a movie because he's also going to go into like the spirit realm, so you can see like angels versus demon and God and the devil arguing and stuff like this. So
I know that this is normally
only if God can turn to Satan and say, "Hey, Lucy, what's going on?"
No. And then Jesus comes to hell and then looks at the devil and says, "Devil, I'm here to bargain."
Have you guys seen that episode of American?
That's probably going to happen because
have you guys seen that episode
on
of
which denomination
Dad?
you believe, Jesus apparently did go to hell after he died and then came back. So he might do like a Gandalf fighting the Balrog scene of like Jesus or something. So I guess Mel Gibson could do something like that. But yes, Hacksaw Ridge, really good. Really enjoyed it. Highly recommend people see it.
I know that this is normally a really, really generic subtitle for films, but I think for this one it's appropriate. Please tell me they're going to call it Passion of the Christ 2 Resurrection. Because normally that's a really generic title, but it might actually work for this one.
The Messiah Strikes Back. There we go.
The Messiah Strikes Back, yeah.
Passion of the Christ 2 Rogue One.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Jesus this summer.
Technically accurate.
In Jesus, the Rogue One. Yeah, there it is.
Rogue One, a Bible story.
Yes! Oh boy. Starring Liam Neeson as Jesus.
Metachlorians, Jesus. Metachlorians. That's why you're so special.
It's seriously like I would not be surprised if Mel Gibson did do that because he could take that bit of like Jesus going to hell and turn it into a whole thing.
Family Guy did a great episode, like season 4, something like that, where Mel Gibson was after Peter and Lois because they have a print of Passion of the Christ 2, and it's like this really like insane action movie with like
Jesus
Chris Tucker.
And Chris Rock. Oh, Chris Tucker. Yes.
Chris Tucker. Yeah. You crazy, Jesus? You crazy? Yes.
Yeah, that's what my ex-wife said.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Passion of the Christ 2. That's. Oh boy. Yay. Fun. All right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Hacksaw Ridge because it's safe to say that Andrew Garfield, whether it's for this or for the Martin Scorsese film Silence, he's going to get at least one Oscar nomination this year.
I'm so excited for Silence, only to hear what Adam Driver's Hispanic accent's going to sound like. Because I'm sure if it's not great, then it means it's going to be hilarious. Because Adam Driver and Andrew Garfield play 2 Hispanic priests, don't they? Something like that. And they're going after.
Yeah, they played the priests from Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
The one from the trailers. I think that's the plot of the film. Maybe I just dreamt it.
And so And so I'm excited to hear Adam Driver's, or maybe you guys might know him as Kylo Ren, Adam Driver's Hispanic accent. I'm sure it's going to be either incredible or hilarious.
And now, our feature presentation.
You can cut whenever you want.
Are you okay, Trey?
I'd much rather Bandit just like cut on me breathing. Yes. You know what? We're leaving all of that in, and we're gonna end every section with Bandit coughing. I hope he's okay.
Yes, we shouldn't be laughing, but it's timed so well.
Oh god.
Oh,
Hey, I think if Bandit was the Pokemon trainer, I know what his starter Pokemon would be. Coughing. That was the worst joke ever. No effort or thought.
maybe Ricola.
Okay. All right, got the timestamp. All set.
Okay. Bandit Resurrection. Okay.
Apologies, I was grabbing some water. Okay. Whenever you guys are ready, we will jump into this.
Yep.
All right.
Get ready when you are.
Yep. Bum, 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 this movie kinda sucked. Dun, dun, dun. Alright, guys, this is Rogue One. Rogue One talk. Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Alright, so here's what we're gonna do here. And we're gonna go non-spoilers, and then we'll go full spoilers later. And like I said, time code listed below. Why don't you start? What do you guys think of Rogue One, a Star Wars story? Trilbee, we'll start with you.
Oh, it was wonderful. So good.
Climb! For some reason, that's my favourite line. Bear in mind, this is coming from someone who apparently hates The Force Awakens because I gave it a 7 out of 10. I thought this was really good. Yeah, I thought this was really good.
It was, wasn't it? It was so great.
I think there are a couple of issues. I think only a few, nothing that really dismantle.
Only a few.
Only
a few. Okay.
Only a few. But I think that there's something really, 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 really passionate and charming and awesome about it. Like it's a complete package film. I think it's got a little bit of everything that I would want from a Star Wars film, and it's interesting that this comes from it comes after The Force Awakens, which is basically just Force Awakens is doing two things. One, wasn't Episode 4 great, and also won't Episode 8 be great?
Yes.
That's basically the moral of The Force Awakens. But for Rogue One, because it is set in this place where there's a lot of story to tell, I think that it used that spacing incredibly well, and it really did feel like a war movie. And there were just a couple of small moments that really hit home that idea that these guys. Yes. They're not going to be getting a medal ceremony at the end of Episode 4, and
if The Force Awakens was like a tribute to A New Hope, then Rogue One's like the best trailer for A New Hope I've ever seen. The moment the movie's end, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go watch Star Wars. Yeah,
I have a feeling I'm gonna like A New Hope more after watching Rogue One. I feel like I'm gonna appreciate it.
Especially the opening crawl, it's like during this great battle episode, I'm like, hey, I know what that means now.
Yeah.
And like when Vader walks through A New Hope, you're just like, oh my god.
I know what you've just done.
I know what you just did.
I think the moment that
I think so too. I want to watch A New Hope as well again. Sorry, Trilbee, please continue.
I think this isn't a spoiler, but the moment that sums up Rogue One perfectly is there's a big battle at the end, and one of the main characters has to get somewhere, and they're pinned down by gunfire. They can't make it, and then one nameless character, I don't even think he's given a name, no idea who he's played by. There's a shot of him realizing that this guy needs to get to this other side of this platform or whatever, needs to get to the other side. So he just goes out of cover, starts shooting the stormtroopers to give him cover. The guy runs across, and then that nameless person's killed. That guy's not getting a medal ceremony at the end of Episode 4. He's just one of hundreds of people who are in this Rebel Alliance, in these Star Wars, is going to die, nameless on a planet. No one's going to know who he is, but he's still a hero nonetheless for the small deed that he did in this grand context. And it's moments like that throughout Rogue One that I think really make it a really special Star Wars film. I think this is the best one since The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, I agree.
I think
there's actually another moment like that.
I think we should call this film "Email the Movie." But go ahead, Ben.
There's another moment like that. There's another moment like that in the big battle scene too, where there's two, again, nameless soldiers are like behind a crate shooting, and one of them gets hit, and the guy next to him, who's obviously his friend, is like, "No!"
Yeah, and then he just gets shot.
One nameless soldier is grieving the death of another nameless soldier, and you're like, "Oh, they were friends, whoever they were."
Okay.
But you're right. Yeah. So just want to throw it in.
Okay, so as someone,
come on, Trey, tell us why you're wrong.
Okay, yeah, sure, right. I'd like to point out real quick that I called this, by the way. I remember like months ago, and I was like, watch me not like the movie, and I definitely didn't like the film.
Trey.
I definitely very much enjoyed the film.
I think he's working for the Empire.
Hey, they got the best uniforms. But I will say this: I didn't feel any connection whatsoever with these characters, and I think that is the fundamental flaw of Rogue One.
K2SO?
And well, I'll get to my positive in a second. But
I can't relate to a soulless robot. What is wrong with you, Trey?
And I just think that from the get-go, and say what you will about The Force Awakens, that it's a remake of the original trilogy, sure. That it has a weak third act, sure. But at least with The Force Awakens, I could connect with these characters, and I could follow these characters, and I could see these characters. I cared about what they were doing. I was invested in the action because I cared about the people that were in the action. This film, to me, has a very similar problem, albeit in a far less well put together film like Jurassic World, where I didn't care that any of this stuff was happening. I'm not saying it's like Jurassic World. This film's way better than Jurassic World.
Force Awakens is way more like Jurassic World than Rogue One.
But my problem, thanks for interrupting me, Bandit. I'm definitely not trying to speak here. But like my main problem with Rogue One is my same problem with Jurassic World, is in that I can't care about what's happening because I don't care about the people that are. I don't know anything about these people. I don't know anything about, not even like their backstory, but like personality wise, all we get are like minor little itty bitty traits. The character I cared most for was K2SO, a soulless robot, which I think it's a fundamental flaw in this film. I cared more, and I won't give any spoilers away, but I cared way more for certain characters in a very specific hallway than I did for any of the main cast, and that really took a lot out of me. So that when I'm watching this, that final space battle should have felt like Return of the Jedi, you know, when Luke's on the Emperor's when Luke's on the Superstar Destroyer, he's in the Death Star, he's somewhere there, and there's space battles with Lando and Neenub and Han and Leia are down with the Ewoks, and you just really start to feel like you feel for these characters. But when you're watching, and sure, it's nice to see Gold Leaders show up, which does happen, which isn't necessarily a spoiler because it's X-Wings and stuff.
Hold on,
and that's.
But of course you felt connection to the characters in Return of the Jedi. That was the third movie of the trilogy.
I know, but
three movies getting to know them. This is a standalone movie. What I was building, and that's something else that people have brought up to me. They're like, it's a standalone. These characters are not meant to have the longevity as those in The Force Awakens, which is entirely true. But I think it's because we don't have these characters for. We may not have these characters for as long as we may have them in the saga films, which is why you have to now spend more time to get us to know these characters so that we can care when certain things start to go down. And I think that the action for me became so weightless and became so almost like watching a video game, where granted they weren't on God mode, that's for sure, but like I just didn't like people, you know, when bodies start dropping, I was just like, oh no, not that guy. It's a shame, really. I'm telling you, there's a certain scene, and I won't give it away. There's a certain scene involving a hallway where I cared way more for those poor souls in that hallway than I do for any of the main cast when they're doing anything in this film. And it really, I don't know. And I was also really bored, essentially, throughout a good portion of the film. But I did enjoy a lot about the movie. Like, I loved K2SO. All the performances are pretty great. I liked pretty much all the callbacks that they did. I won't give you anything like that. There's a certain character that shows up that's in A New Hope. I'm just like, hey, it's that guy. Yeah.
R2-D2 and C-3PO are in it. That's not a spoiler because I never saw this movie, but that took me way out the movie. I won't say where they're at, but when they show up, I'm like, why are they there? They don't need to be there.
It was very much like they just shoved them in because they're like, this is a rule, isn't it? They have to be in every movie.
But that being said, trademark, the last like 10 or 15 minutes of this film is some of the best Star Wars I've ever seen. And I think that's the first like 15 minutes and the last 15 minutes are like perfection. And I think that's why I still really dug the film, despite me not really choosing to care, because you can tell that there was so much craft and care. Sorry, I hit my pop filter again. So much craft and care put into the film, and you can tell a director that Gareth Edwards really was trying to make a true, awesome war film that happened to have Star Wars stuff in it. And I think this is a good step forward in the right direction for Star Wars stories. I'm just hoping that we can start to care more. And I can get more invested with new characters next time they try to do something like this. But it's like a 7.5 out of 10. I don't hate the film. I do enjoy the film. I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a major fan.
Trey, why do you hate the film?
What was that, Chill? I couldn't hear you.
Why do you hate the film, Trey?
I don't
hate the film.
Yeah, what's
many
it
Bothans
like to
died
have
to
no
bring you
soul,
this film.
Trey?
I really don't. I couldn't care less about the Bothans that died to make this film.
Rogue One 2, many Bothans. In other words, too many Bothans.
Rogue 2, a Bothan story. Yeah.
2 Bothan, 2 Furious.
The fate of the Bothans. Yeah. All right.
No, I saw this movie twice because I saw it midweek in order to do my review early on. Then I saw it last night with a group of my friends, and it's even better the second time. And having watched,
I've only seen it once, so there you go.
Having seen it a second time, I know that every single like you talk about character development. Of course, like we all know, standalone movies not going to have the same level of character development as like a movie that's third in a trilogy like Return of the Jedi. We also know I
was not saying character wise. I was using Return of the Jedi as a comparison to the space battle in terms of the epicness. Sure, I guess I don't know. I felt way more. I don't know, but yeah.
All right, yeah, okay, but we also know that like having a team movie, you're not going to spend as much time with every single character as you would otherwise. But having seen it a second time, every single character in there has a story arc. Every single character has like their own journey that they're going on throughout the course of it. Even the pilot dude, whose name I can't remember.
Odie.
Yeah,
Odie.
yeah. He does have a backstory of like he's trying to redeem himself for working for the Empire, and towards the end of the movie, he's like, "This is for you, Galen," and like there's little subtle things in there that sort of give you glimpses of more of their bigger story. I actually suspect that you know how like often writers for like books and stuff, they'll write entire backstories for all different characters, even if those backstories don't make it in to the actual book itself, but it's to influence what the character does and how they act in the story. I feel like they did a similar thing with this, because each of the characters, it seemed like there was a backstory already there that was influencing how they act, especially like between the friendship between the two Japanese dudes, you know, the blind dude and the dude that was like the walking tank. You know, you could tell there was a long history between them going back, and they were like really good friends. And yeah, I just love this movie so much. But yes, there's admittedly plenty of problems which I've got written down that we can talk about in the spoiler section. But yeah, and it's just like, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's just great to see an original story done in the Star Wars universe. It was exactly what I was hoping Rogue One would be.
And to everyone who loves the fact that this one retcons certain things from the original trilogy, that just came across as irritating to me, if I'm honest with you. Like, everyone's praising this certain thing that the film does of like, whoa, they fixed this, and the original from New Hope, and I'm like, it just feels like they're really trying to like get good favor with the fans. That just
really.
A, I saw it coming a mile away, and B, I don't know, it just rubbed me the wrong way. It just. And I think you guys both know what I'm talking about when I say that, but
yeah, I didn't even think the movie was over the top with it. I just thought, because when I don't know if you've seen New Hope, when they open the Death Star plans and they start to they plan the trench run from their headquarters, and they immediately are able to devise the plan of how to defeat the Death Star. I thought the fact that there was obvious instructions in that message that the rebels got from the transmission, everything that they're picking up in the film that they're trying to steal, trying to smuggle out. I don't even think it was just a massive, let's fix a plot hole. Let's just fill in this gap that we already know is a gap that needs filling.
But I guess it's like how they filled in the gap, because you're right. You could make the leap of like, the instructions just show that there was a flaw in the Death Star, and that was just how the plans were. But the question of why is there a flaw there in the first place and how they answer that really does kind of it just bugged me that was where they went with that story. I
think
and
it's
we'll
the
get
perfect
more into that in
solution.
spoilers.
I think it's the absolute perfect. We'll save it for spoilers. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it came across also as kind of cheesy, but I don't know.
For me, the biggest plot hole that was filled was why did Luke Skywalker, when he joined Red Squadron, why did he become number 5 instantly, even though there were 11 of them?
Well, we know that for sure.
That's the biggest plot hole in A New Hope, and I'm so glad that this film was here to fill in that gap, because I can now sleep better knowing that solution.
But I can definitely answer the question of why is the Empire scared of Darth Vader so much? Why is the world so scared of Darth Vader? We all know now.
I really liked the main character as well. That we see him doing some shady stuff because he's a spy, and we see that even though you're on the good side, even though you're a rebel, doesn't mean you're not going to have to get your hands dirty. And he has to get his hands dirty early on in the movie, and you think, oh, I don't know about this guy. I loved, again, his journey. I would take his character any day of the week over Finn or whatever, who's like, hey, I'm a child soldier.
Don't do
been
that.
raised
Don't
my
be like,
entire
don't be
life.
that guy.
Now I'm this,
Don't be like
this sassy cracking jokes guy. Because that's what a child
What?
soldier.
Hold on. Stop
raised
that.
in basically
Stop that
the
right
Hitler
now.
Youth
Don't
would
no.
exactly be like.
None of that.
No, I
Don't
would
be
take
like.
any
Don't be
character
like.
in Rogue One over that.
Don't say Finn or whatever. Like you didn't enjoy Finn in The Force Awakens. Leave that alone. Let that be.
Finn in The Force Awakens. He was a total waste of time. He was completely irrelevant to the story. Get rid of him. He wasn't even needed in there.
Wow, that's not true at all. All right.
He didn't even act like a human. No human who's been been through what he has been through would act the way he did in that movie. The people in Rogue One felt like real flesh and blood people who have actually experienced real things. It was much better than Force Awakens. So much better.
Let's agree to disagree. That's where I'm not having the Force Awakens debate again.
I don't agree.
Such an asshole.
Well, with Rogue One, because I think it's absolutely true that these characters are not as immediately relatable or as iconic or as memorable as, say, like Luke Skywalker or Han Solo or all these other characters in A New Hope, which is a more accurate. It's a fairer comparison because that's their first ever appearance, and they're not 3 films in or 4 films in. But I think Rogue One's going for something very different. It's not so much character driven, even if there are mini arcs over the course of the film with this ensemble cast. I think it's more about mood and atmosphere, and also just the feeling of being in this war zone, of being in this universe oppressed by the Empire.
But that only takes you so far in a film if you don't care about the characters. You know, the
fact that I also cared as well.
The atmosphere can only take you so far. If I'm like, wow, look how intense this is. Look how, oh man, look at all these X-wings being taken out. It's like when you watched A New Hope and everyone's getting taken out. It's like, oh no, I'm dying. I'm like, that's fine, guy. I knew for 8 seconds, and it's not that bad. Yeah, poor kids. It's not that bad onto that scale where I didn't care that Porkins died. You know what I'm saying? But
everyone cares.
But hashtag Porkins. Why wasn't he in this movie?
Actually, did you see the new Porkins?
I did.
The X-Wings pilot was a fat guy, and he's like, "I'm going down." No,
that guy's my spirit animal.
Family Guy has a great joke about Porkins in their New Hope parody. Like he's like spilling out of the X-wing. He's just like,
"I'm a little trouble here."
Yeah, he's too heavy.
And they've got the scene. They copy the scene from Vacation. When the family from National Lampoon's Vacation are driving over the Death Star and say, "Come on, kids, it's important that you watch the Flight of the Rebellion. Roll them up,
roll them up." Yeah, no, but it's just, and I think that's my biggest problem with the film. And keep in mind, I really did dig the film. And like the moment it was over, I turned to my friend Christian, who I saw it with, obviously, and I was just like, I wish I cared about the characters because I couldn't find myself invested in what was going on. It all looked awesome. It was all very well put together. There was obvious effort in putting the action sequences and the way the characters did certain things, you know, plot wise, and the way that certain ships were taken out, and the way Vader was handled. It was all done exceptionally well. I just couldn't find myself caring because I couldn't find myself getting invested in any of the characters. And I think when you're making a film, the thing you need to worry about is that if you're following these certain characters through the story, if you want to find yourself invested in the action, you need to care about the person that's on screen. If you don't care about the person that's about to get shot, then why are you watching him get shot in the first place?
War is hell. It's this Rogue One, a Hacksaw Ridge story.
No, it's brutal, sure.
Well,
like I mean, Private Ryan, and that door opens and all those guys get shot up in the front, like they just immediately get taken out. You're like, oh man, that sucks. But I didn't really care because I didn't know who those guys were. It's just
yeah. Well, you don't know who Rey is either. You don't know who Finn is. You don't know who any of them are.
What do you mean?
You don't know who Rey is.
What do you mean?
We don't even know who our parents are. You know nothing about her.
I'm not talking
have more
about plot,
information
man.
about the
I'm
characters
talking about
in Rogue
character.
One.
They can talk about you can give us character background and information on who they are as a character, but it's about who plot. I'm not talking about plot wise. I'm talking about like trait wise, personality wise. Do I know this character as a person? Do I feel like I know this character as a person, as opposed to I know them as a background?
This Rogue One did a lot of what Red Letter Media talks about of. You might not have noticed, but your brain did. You know that saying that he talks about? There was a lot of that in Rogue One. So yeah, they didn't sit down and go, well, I've been in the Rebel Alliance since I was 6. Well, you did say that.
Yeah.
My family was killed. My family was killed as a child, and I saw the stormtroopers like killing my family. Like, he didn't go through all that. He's just like, you think you're the only one who's lost everything? That's it.
That's
all
exactly what
That's
they
all
did
you need.
with Jen Erso, but whatever. Okay, sure.
Yeah, well, she is the main character. So now you're upset that she did have character development. Okay.
No, she didn't.
So maybe there's some middle ground where she can not have too much character development, but not enough. Maybe if they thread that needle,
they developed her in the plot very well. Here's my thing. The characters were only there because they needed to serve the story. And I'm not sure that's what good filmmaking is about. No, but it's a matter of like you care about Samuel L. Jackson Hateful because you care about him as a character, because you're like, oh, I'm invested in these characters, I'm invested in these dynamics between the back and forth. You know, you watch a movie like Steve Jobs and you're like, man, I am so down because I know so much about these characters, not because the plot tells me about the character. It's like, you know, in Attack the Clones when Anakin and Obi-Wan are standing in the elevator and it's like, oh, remember that time we were doing blah 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 on this planet, blah blah blah, and you're like, we are the best of friends, ha ha ha. Yeah. I don't care about their friendship because they're telling me how things are supposed to work, but I just telling me what these characters are like and what they've done is different than seeing these characters be the characters. I didn't feel like I get to know the characters through their dialogue and through their actions as opposed to I did through their background exposition.
You didn't feel any friendship between the two Japanese guys, or between the main character and the chick and the dude, Jyn Erso and the dude, where they have come to blows.
Their chemistry felt really
they get in each other's face and they come to blows, but then later on he's like,
we can call it getting in each other's face. We can call it. You can call it getting in each other's face.
And then they actually genuinely become friends, kind of like Luke and Han in the original trilogy, isn't that?
Bandit, we're not going to agree, and I feel like I want to let Trilbee talk because I feel like we're just going to yell at each other for 2 hours, and I don't want to do that. So what do you?
Well, just one last thing. I don't want to give any spoilers. Is look, just yeah, for me, this was like, this was. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep crapping on Force Awakens, but
yes, you do. Don't try to apologize now; it's too late.
Well, okay, I am, but I don't want to crap on Force Awakens any more than I feel is necessary in comparing Rogue One to that. But I remember with Rogue One at the end. I remember at the end with Rogue One, the battle at the end is kind of exactly what I wanted with the battle with Force Awakens, because you remember I was endlessly complaining about another Death Star. I was like, why does there have to be another attack on another Death Star that's going to blow up a planet? Can't it just be an important battle somewhere where they're going to do an important thing? We got exactly that at the end of Rogue One, and it was amazing. It was great. You don't need to have a giant planet-killing weapon about to blow up a planet at the end of every movie in order for it to be important.
I definitely agree with you on the fact that I didn't feel for I didn't feel for the X-Wings and stuff. I'll agree with you on that. We definitely agreed on that, but I felt like the point of that film was the Rey stuff, not the Poe Dameron X-Wing stuff, but whatever. I'm not here to talk about Force Awakens. I really can't. I don't have the mental capacity right now. I've defended my thoughts
because they're two very different takes on Star Wars movies, and it depends on like which way is the franchise going to go forward in the future. I hope it follows the example of Rogue One. Rather than Force Awakens.
I liked the tone of Rogue One. I liked the look of Rogue One. The cinematography wise was exceptional, and I liked certain things they did in handling the mythos of Rogue One. But I don't like the characterization. It just felt lacking to me, and I think that is the big deal for me in this film. If I can't care about what's going on, then I'm not going to enjoy myself while it's happening. I just kind of sat there bored, especially if that in pretty much the entirety of the third act I was just sitting there bored. I'm like, yeah, it looks really cool, but most movies these days do look really cool. It's not, but that's just
cool. So
Dad, please stop fighting.
During the action scenes, when everything in the entire movie is culminating, and it's probably one of the best space battles ever put into any Star Wars movie ever, and you're just there going, meh.
Yeah, that's exactly that is exactly what it was. I won't lie to you guys. I was droning off just a tad, but there are certain points where I'm just like, are we still?
Maybe if Jyn Erso had suddenly like merged with the Force and just started running around, just like flying pilots, flying planes really well, and blowing up everything and just killing everyone, and goes up to Darth Vader and is like, ha ha ha, I'm going to lightsaber fight you and beat you really, really easily, even though I know nothing about it. Would you then be happy? Would you think that's a well-developed character?
I'm not going to answer that.
Sorry.
I'm not going to answer that because I like how you're attacking me because of an opinion on a movie. The defense for Rogue One being good cannot be it's better than Force Awakens. That's not.
What do you mean?
You can't say a movie's good because it's better than this last film. Like, that's not how it works. You have to judge each film on its own merits, and that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Rogue One's fantastic because it's better than The Force Awakens is not a defense against what I'm trying to say in my opinion on the film.
I know, but I just hate this. Like, it's not just you. It's like a lot of people go, "Oh, I don't like character development," or "There wasn't enough character development." And I'm like, well. What does that even mean? Like, what does when that people even say mean? That? Okay. Well, I know what they think it means. It's this vague thing of like, oh, I didn't care about this character, but it's like, okay, what do you want to know? Do you want to know, like, what Jyn Erso had for breakfast? Is that what you want to know? You need to know.
I'm not talking about.
You need to know important stuff about what makes these people who they are, and you get that. So I don't get when people go, "Oh, not enough character development." Like with Superman, I'm like, well, what do you need to know about him? He's Superman.
Bandit. I think. Our divide here on what character development means, I think character development is not about knowing the plot and knowing what the character has done plot-wise. I think it's about knowing the character as what that is, a character, a person, a thing in a film, someone you are watching going through things. Have you seen Steve Jobs?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. Trilbee, you have stayed silent for the last 25 minutes.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm a kid in the middle of a messy divorce. I think it's... Well, it's interesting that you bring up Steve Jobs as a point to try and support what you think about character development whilst like trying to dismiss Rogue One, because I see where you're both coming from completely. But I think Rogue One is like Trey. I think Rogue One is doing something quite different from what you are looking for in a Star Wars film or in a movie in general. Because like when you think about Steve Jobs or Hateful Eight, those movies are not necessarily about character arcs or characters developing and building, because in Hateful Eight, when all those characters arrive at the cabin, with the exception of one who reveals and twists later on in the film, they arrive more or less fully formed. In Steve Jobs, what you see is what you get with the character, and there's just a couple of hidden layers that get revealed as the film goes on with his daughter and his creations and everything. Whereas with Rogue One, I think... Because with Hateful Eight, you're not meant to necessarily emotionally connect with the characters in the cabin because they're villains and you're not really meant to sympathize with them, even if you do understand them, or you just enjoy them having fun messing with each other or blowing their brains out. And with Steve Jobs, you're not necessarily meant to emotionally connect with him. You're meant to just enjoy the riveting dialogue and the execution, and also just see how this character, who this person, this real-life figure has passed away and is now being recreated by Michael Fassbender. With Rogue One, it's not necessarily about character. It's more about, because these characters in Rogue One are jaded, they've seen some stuff, man, and they don't really have the time to wax about characters or talk about motivations and all that stuff because they have a mission to do, and that is what Rogue One is about. If it was trying to say half-heartedly give some character development, even though it just comes out of nowhere and it feels forced, then you'd probably be criticizing it for that. Does that make sense?
That's true. Like Steve Jobs.
I do see what you I do see. I'm going to keep discussion. I'm gonna keep talking here. I do see what you were talking about, Trilbee, and I do think that perhaps that's not what Rogue One was trying to be, and maybe that's just me not realizing what the film is trying to do. But I do think looking at it, not necessarily as the overarching Star Wars story, looking at it as what it is in an individual film, I can go back and watch a film like Force Awakens or A New Hope, and see these characters, and I can go back for the characters. I can go back to see, you know, Rey or Finn or Luke or Han. I can go back and see these characters, but I can't go back in Rogue One and say, oh, it's Chirrut or Baze Malbus or Jyn Erso, because they're all so interesting. Jyn Erso is such a personality, isn't she?
Well, I'm not assuming
she's so much fun to watch.
I'm not assuming that you like misunderstood the film. I think that's like the wrong expression for it. I just think that I think you understood what the film was going for just fine. It's just not what you were looking for from a Star Wars film, because what you really liked about Force Awakens was that characters like Rey, Finn, and Poe arrive more or less like with still a lot more growing left to do. Luke and Han and Leia in Episode 4 are appearing for the first time, and they've got more growing to do. They've got more developing to do over the next few films. They've got relationships to establish. They've got all of these adventures to do. Whereas with Rogue One, it is just a one and done story with these characters, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it means it has to be more story driven as opposed to character driven. And I think what you're looking for, Trey, is a more character driven Star Wars film. And because Rogue One is sort of skirting around the edges of character and more or less giving us some more subtle expressions and more subtle moments that Bandit has picked up on and appreciated, what you were looking for was something quite different, which isn't necessarily a problem with you, Trey, or the film. It's just something. It just wasn't something you were looking for.
Yeah, and Rogue One is pretty much that's pretty on the nose, Trilbee. And I appreciate you. I appreciate the way you did that, and I feel a lot better about my opinion now. Thank you, Trilbee. Bandit, what were you gonna say?
Like Trilbee, like he said, like Steve Jobs, that was more about who that person is, who Steve Jobs is. While something like Rogue, it was like
it's what they
Steve
do
Jobs was more
in Rogue
about
One, which is what's important.
That was more about who he is, not what he does. This was more about what they do, not who they are. Because the standalone movie,
I can't care about what they do if I don't know who they are. If I don't know who these people really are, I can't find myself interested in that they do anything. Essentially,
okay,
I cared way more.
I don't want to tell you how to feel or anything, but I personally find an interesting story about a girl who's going on a mission, which is her taking responsibility and taking up this fight, but also dealing with issues with her dad, fighting with the resistance, but also dealing with her issues of being raised by this crazy Forrest Whitaker guy at the same time, while at the same time forming friendships with all these different people and going into this battle.
Should we jump into spoilers before Bandit?
For the greater good, I find all of that way more interesting than someone saying, "Let's get BB-8 to the Resistance." Oh no, now I don't. I just want to go home. Yeah, call me crazy. I just find Rogue One story a little bit more interesting.
I love how Bandit was able to turn what was becoming a genuinely good discussion about what people expect versus what people are given in a film, and turned it back into, well, The Force Awakens sucks. You know what we're gonna do?
I just don't understand. I'm like,
no. Listen, we're gonna jump into spoilers before, so I can get into detail about what I really liked and did not like about this film.
Okay, fine, but because I'm just letting you know, I just find it strange that all these complaints that you have about Rogue One are 100 million times more valid for Force Awakens, yet for some reason you have no problem with them in Force Awakens.
Because I care about the characters in Force Awakens. There.
Before we go, I just want to say,
have less emotional scenes, less invested in anything else that's happening around them. Yeah, okay.
All film is subjective. Bandit,
before we get to spoilers, just one more non-spoilery thing. I think if Rogue One was the very first Star Wars story I would have ever seen, I think I would be on Trey's side with this. But because I see Rogue One as a side story, as its own separate chapter, and it's got a different tone and feel from the previous Star Wars films, I'm looking at it to say this is the story that we will never see, which is just as important as what Luke and Han and Leia have done, but they're not getting a medal ceremony. They're not going to have legends and tales told about them. These characters are disposable, very literally, in terms of like franchising. We're not going to see these characters again unless it's because minor cameos or something. Yeah. And it's the way that the movie presents this war and their part in it as disposable, and how it like that guy who I mentioned, that nameless soldier who it's moments like that I think place Rogue One as an important it's an important part of the Star Wars chapter that would never have been told in the episodic ones, and I appreciate it like that.
Yeah, that is fair. I just maybe it is a matter of, I do try to judge each film on its own merits, and perhaps looking at this as a standalone film, as what it was promised to be, a standalone film. And I just think, if I'm trying to watch this, if I just want to watch a good film, do I plug in Rogue One? No. Why? Because I don't care about what's going on. I can plug in a film like A New Hope or The Force Awakens, each which, by the way, are not perfect films in any stretch of the mind. Each which, by the way, have very large and very exposable problems, sure, but I can still plug that in. I can still enjoy those films because I care about what's going on, because I care about the characters. And I can't say the same thing about Rogue One. And maybe that's not what they were going for, sure, but that's just how I feel about it after I got out of it.
Sure. Well, continuing on from what you said, Trilbee, like, the fact that they're disposable, I was more invested in them because they were disposable, rather than someone who, oh, your last name's Skywalker, that means you're probably going to be around. So I don't care about that, because I know they're going to be protected in the franchise. But these disposable characters, I was more invested because they were disposable. But that's just
it was kind of like, you know what's going to happen to these characters. You know that they're not going to be in episode 4, but the fact that I was still able to be on the edge of my, like, you know, in Gravity, it's going to sound so weird. You know, in Gravity, when
careful, Bandit hates this movie.
No, but spoiler warning for Gravity. At the very end, she's on Earth. She's going to be safe, and then she opens the shuttle door.
Beautiful scene.
And then all of the water comes through, and you think she's going to die after all of this, even though you know she'll be fine because she's the main character. Rogue One was like that. I knew everything was going to be fine because I've seen episode 4. I know what's going to happen to the Death Star. I know that Leia's going to get the plans. But I was still like, oh my god, there's a moment at the end of this film where I'm sure that Darth Vader's going to get the plans, even though I know the ending. But oh my god!
That's what I'm talking about when I say the investment of the character. Like, I was petrified, and we won't give away what we were so petrified about. But like, there's a certain scene involving a hallway where I'm like, they lost. They just lost. They have just lost. It's all over. But we know it's not like that. There was nothing in that third act, with the exception of that scene, that made me feel in any way like that. You know what I'm saying? Nothing in that third act, or in the entire film. Maybe the opening scene's pretty cool. That made me feel like I felt during that hallway bit, which they're not 45 seconds. Should we give our ratings and then jump into spoilers?
Sure.
Okay.
I'd give it 9 out of 10, just because of a few plot holes. And it drags a bit in the first half.
Yeah. How about you, Trilbee?
I'm going to go for considering that 7 out of 10 for Force Awakens means I hate the film, I've got to give this a 700 out of 10. Let's go for a 8.5 or a 9. Okay. I think I need to watch it again to see if it does maybe hold up under further scrutiny. Like Bandit says they get the second time, so let's see how that goes, because I saw Force Awakens 3 times in theaters, not by choice, but because it was the big event film, and I had friends and family who didn't want to see it on their own, so I was like, yeah, I'll come with, because I basically live at the cinema anyway. So
yeah, essentially, I'll go. And despite all this bickering we've done, I don't hate this movie. In fact, I quite enjoyed it.
Say, Trey, why do you hate it?
I don't hate it. I did find a lot of improvement in this film. I don't hate this film. I just couldn't find myself being truly invested in much.
Trey's chances of liking this film were 357,000 to 1.
Never tell me the odds. That's high. It's very high. I'll go 7, and I'll go 7.8 out of 10. I did like the film. I don't hate this movie. I did enjoy it. It was a nice, truly, and you can tell there was effort put into it. And so I wasn't necessarily having fun, but I could appreciate that they were trying to do something different with Star Wars, which did make me smile. And now that we are going into spoilers, can we do it now? I'm gonna, because last year's Star Wars episode, apparently we jumped into spoilers too quickly, so I'll say this now. Can you guys still hear me, or is my Skype dying?
I can hear you. Just wait.
Just making sure. Spoilers. How sick was that Darth Vader bit? Oh my god!
Oh, that was the best part of the movie.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
so good.
I have one complaint about that scene: no human shield.
Yeah,
I just want a human shield scene with Darth Vader. Is that too much to ask for?
You got a human shield with when Donnie Yen's character was holding up the stormtrooper, and the stormtrooper kept shooting. You could hear the body go blah 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 blah, like flapping around.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so sick. okay, petrified, by the way, like the door jams, and then like the hallway goes black, and you just hear, and the lightsaber goes up.
Yeah.
People started cheering so loud in the theater. I was like,
genuinely
finally!
scary. And the guy who's like got his hand through the door, he's like, take it.
Oh God. Never has a line
like he was
help
trapped
us
in a
been
room with a
so
monster,
sad. You can hear him go, help us, help us. Like, oh, that's so scary. Could you imagine being the one guy that lived through that, the one guy that like made it through, like, it's like tripping over dead bodies and like fell into the hallway. It's like, watch. You know what I imagine? That guy changed uniforms when he got into the next year because he was not about to be that same. Oh, could you imagine being that guy that lived to see?
I thought you were saying that he had to change uniform because he literally shot himself.
Yeah, like. You know,
it's alright. They're wearing brown pants. It's fine.
Yeah, if you're that guy in A New Hope sitting in that hallway, are you just like shaking like, you don't know what I've just seen, guys?
I'm so sad that these ships are designed with white interiors.
Yeah, that scene itself was something fantastic. Like good God, the last minute.
A number of people and a legit complaint. A number of people in the comment section of my review on my channel did say. That ending's cool, but it does kind of ruin the bit in A New Hope where Leia is like, this is a peaceful diplomatic mission. What are you talking about? And Vader's like, I saw you at the battle.
Yeah,
I saw you at the battle where you stole
your ship leave. I saw you were there.
Yeah.
I think this guy's really trying to play dumb now, if you look at it in retrospect.
That's why he's like super pissed. He's like, you are part of a traitor, you liar. I watched you.
Yeah. I just really want to see his expression underneath the mask now. Like, oh my God, I can't even cope. I'm so triggered by Leia right now.
When that ship takes off and he's just standing there and you hear the Imperial March going, I bet he's thinking, God damn it, I was so close. But someone else brought up I was watching a review and they brought up a good point. It's like, so Vader would much rather let the plans get away than run. Like, that's all I'm saying. Like, if Vader ran, it'd be a lot. I'm sure he would have made it. I'm sure if he started sprinting in that suit, I'm sure he would have been just fine.
The roller skates haven't been installed in the suit yet.
But man, that seems incredible.
I reckon I don't have a problem with that because that bit at the beginning of A New Hope has never made sense because the stormtroopers come in and they have this massive shootout and then she's like, we're a peaceful diplomatic mission. It's like, well, then why did you kill all the stormtroopers who tried to come in? Diplomatic missions don't usually do that. So I mean that never made much sense. So
and it plugs into A New Hope so well with that ending. Say what you will about the CG Leia, I thought it looked great. But she gets handed the plans and she turns around. She's like, "What is it?" It's like Hope. You hear the Force theme, jump to hyperspace, credits. I'm like, yes. And I was like, that's how you end a Star Wars movie. That was so much fun. Oh my God.
Funny story.
I watched A New Hope and it was awesome. Sorry, go ahead.
A funny story. I was speaking to someone who was like 11 or 12 years old who had just seen Rogue One, and he was saying that he loved the actor who played Tarkin. That kid has no idea that Peter Cushing has been dead for about
22 years. Yeah, he's been dead for 22.
And,
we never touched on that in the non-spoilers review. Should we talk about Tarkin?
Well, Tarkin, I didn't even know he'd be in the film. So I was kind of hesitant to bring it up, but now we're in spoiler talk.
I forgot, because I think we talked about that Bandit on the podcast. We talked about that briefly. This may be a year or so ago when they announced that they were going to do they were going to try to CG Tarkin. And I think we said something like, I think it might have been you who suggested that they might do like a hologram or something.
Yeah.
But when Tarkin, when we first see Tarkin, with this reflection on the glass or whatever, I was like, oh hey, right on there. It's probably probably Photoshop Peter Cushing's face from Google image or something put on the wall. And then he turns around and it's just CG. It's just CG Cushing. Yeah. #CG Cushing. And I was just like, that looks awful. My instant thought was that looks atrocious, especially when he talked, because they haven't gotten down teeth yet. They haven't gotten his teeth looked like something that had PS3 effects, and it didn't bother me.
Am I the one who thought that the motion capture looked really good for both characters?
I liked the motion capture for Leia. I thought it was really. I thought they might as well have just photoshopped Carrie Fisher into the movie. But I do think
it's the uncanny valley. It's very hard to get right.
He'll talk and you'll see his face twitch. And I'm like, that's not a natural human thing to do. When you talk, your face moves, but it doesn't twitch in the way that it did. It just felt off. Especially when it was a reverse shot of Orson Krennic and Tarkin, and it's real actor obvious computer. Like maybe if it was like Tarkin talking to the Mon Calamari guy, where it's the same thing the same problem I had with Maz Kanata in Force Awakens, of this is a clear CGI character in its entirety talking to a bunch of real things in a very real place. It was a real set with a real Death Star or whatever set with real actors around, and the only thing that was CG was Peter Cushing's face, and it bothered me.
Yeah, but I guess it's difficult because it's like Grand Moff Tarkin. Like, we all know who Grand Moff Tarkin is, but like regular Star Wars fans don't necessarily remember that guy. So if they recast him and had a new character playing, even if you call him Grand Moff Tarkin, people wouldn't connect that. Oh, it's that guy from A New Hope. So he needs to look exactly.
Tarkin
like
does not. Tarkin doesn't have to be all over this movie like he is. Like. No, I feel like you could have easily switched a lot of Tarkin scenes for Vader scenes, and you know how Vader shows up at the end of the film. You could easily be like, oh, Grand Moff Tarkin's off handling other business elsewhere, and then have the end of the film maybe be that part of where the door opens and Tarkin walks out, and you see his reflection on the mirror of like, you may when ready, whatever he says in the film. But he's in the film for he gets like 20 minutes plus of screen time, and it's really.
Wouldn't go that far. I think it's more like 5.
5. No, he has
5 or 6.
5 or 6.
No, he does get a lot of screen time.
He gets a lot of screen time. Maybe it's because the CG was so standoutish. Maybe it felt longer than it did, but he has a few scenes with Krennic.
Grand Moff Tintin.
Well, I kind of assumed that Krennic was put in kind of in a way to be a substitute Grand Moff Tarkin. Like, because in the trailers, it seemed like Krennic, because the Death Star is known as sort of Tarkin's baby in a way. So with the trailers, it presented that Krennic is the real sort of daddy of the Death Star. So I assumed that the reason they cast him was because they can't put Grand Moff Tarkin in, but then they did throughout a lot of the movie. And what the hell was Krennic doing? The whole movie, he's just running around from character to character going, will you tell the Emperor how good I am?
Yeah,
and everyone's just like, no,
everybody.
Get out of here, loser.
I think like it was...
I will say there's a scene with Vader where Krennic's like, "Am I still in command?" I got Dark Knight Rises flashbacks of where like, what's the guy's name? Dagger.
Do you feel in charge?
Yes. I was like, "Do you feel in charge?" I was like, "That's exactly what." He's really good at getting pimp smacked by every character in this film that he's in.
Then he's like, "You're pure evil," and Vader's like, "I'm a necessary evil."
My apologies, director. I love that line, by the way.
Don't choke on your own ambition.
My god!
It was good to see the
I applauded that pun. Everyone I know, every reviewer out there hates that pun. I love the don't choke your aspirations. That's beautiful because Vader's always about toying with people. Though, you know, he toyed with Luke when he was fighting him in Empire, very much so probably until Luke lost his mind in Return of the Jedi. If you've seen Rebels, he's toyed with Kanan and Ezra and he's fought them before. Like, Vader loves to mess with people because he knows he's the best thing out there in the galaxy. Yeah. So to see him like just bring Krennic to his knees and chop a pun. And then just walk away.
If that pun was said by anyone but James Earl Jones, it would not have worked. But I think it did.
No.
Because
he's turning around and he's got the hand gesture to show that he's choking him. But I also like to think that the hand gesture was just like, yeah, Krennic, your dick's that small.
Or to be like, maybe to be like, I've got your balls in my hands. You're mine.
Yeah, why choke someone? You could force crush someone's balls. Yeah,
I feel like Vader.
You just hear like eggshells cracking.
There's a great comic called Vader Down.
That'd be your go-to move.
Yes.
It'd be just like Spaceballs, you know.
That corridor scene would be so much different if he was just walking past everyone and literally breaking their balls.
I used to walk down a hallway.
More scary. Yes. Take the plans, quick!
He's destroyed the balls. Save your boss.
Like, please send me to Vader.
Break off the children.
At least Vader will kill me quickly. What's he gonna do? He crushes the balls.
I think you've got something to animate there, Bandit.
Totally. Hey, with Vader though, we get to see Vader's house. Now, me and my friends coming out of this, we had a lengthy conversation. Was his house on Mustafar? Was
I
that
think
where he lived?
It was, because that's the only reason they didn't do a title card like they did with every other planet, because I feel like if it would have been like Mustafar or Korriban or whatever it's called nowadays, and people would be like, oh, this is the Vader.
If he built his house on Mustafar, that's fantastic. That is so good.
Yes.
Because it's like, not only is it the place where the most amount of hate and anger would be that he can draw on, it's also the last place that he ever saw his wife. So that builds on his character so much.
Where Anakin Skywalker was, or where Darth Vader was essentially born and Anakin died, was on Mustafar, which is really, and I think that. I really don't like Michael Giacchino's score. Granted, he only had 4 weeks to do it, sure, but I don't think that excuses anything. I just think his score is
a lot, but okay.
Well,
I don't have to like it, but I think it does excuse a lot.
Think about the score for something like a show like the Clone Wars or Rebels. It has such a familiar Star Wars feel to it, and I think even like because the film doesn't have an opening crawl, right? You have that scene where Jen's a little girl, and then Saw Gerrera looks down the hall, and she's like, he's like, come with me, little girl. I'll be your dad or whatever. And then it's like, then it's like Rogue One, and it's like title card and weird Apple font. Okay, but like the music for that Rogue One title card felt like music that I could use on my YouTube video and not get sued by Lucasfilm. It felt like generic, not Star Wars music. Like if I were to go and like Ross Bugden and say Star Wars music, I would find that there. Like, and no offense to those who do that kind of music on YouTube, it's fantastic but it's not the real thing. And this is a real Star Wars score. You can go out and buy that generic sounding score on iTunes, which I don't know why anyone would do.
Yeah.
Then both the exception of the score that you hear. I think it's called Krennic's Aspirations. When Krennic goes to, I believe, it's Mustafar to talk to Vader. That soundtrack, from when he lands to when the low humming of the choir when Vader first shows up, you hear the Imperial March. That whole scene is fantastic.
I love the design of the building that he's in because it looks like a massive gravestone. So he's like built on a grave for Anakin where Anakin died and Darth Vader was born. It's such a great symbol of what he's become, like between episodes 3 and 4.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
You were complaining about Krennic just sort of wandering around and just not like really trying to prove himself. But I think you needed those Tarkin scenes to make that work. Because like I just
can't get over that line of like, well, Krennic's like, it's nothing, sir. It's just I have so much work to do, and he goes, well, my apologies, director. I'm like, it's just God. James Earl Jones really brought it. I don't like just He sounds older, sure, but like it just. Yeah. I really appreciate that they brought him back for Vader.
But yeah, I think you needed the Tarkin scenes to sort of justify Krennic just being kind of an ineffectual personality, because there was this power. It shows that there was this power struggle even within the Empire, and how just Tarkin was the reason he was so close to Vader and presumably the Emperor was maybe because he had stolen other ideas or stolen the credit for all of these from all of these people below him. And I think it added a lot more to his character.
I do like the fact that Tarkin was like, oh yeah, I'm taking credit for the Death Star, and Krennic's like, well, I'll see what Vader has to say about this, and you forget that Vader answers to Tarkin, so Vader's just like, yeah, Tarkin did it then. Yeah, this was a mining accident on Jedha City, and Tarkin has the Death Star, and then he's like, but I wanted to say that you ensured these rebels are crushed, and Tarkin's like, oh wait, so I'm still in charge, right? He's like, no, you're not, but still do it. And
Krennic, do you like your balls? Yes.
Like you see him like move his hand up, and Krennic's like, well, my neck doesn't hurt. Oh God! He just falls to the ground.
So, Krennic, which is your favourite internal organ? I'd have to say my liver.
Yeah, the brain's nice this time of year. Shall I bust your appendix? You don't think you need it until it does.
But with Krennic though, I think I mentioned this in my spoiler review on my channel. Is with Krennic, with I thought all his storyline, what it was leading to, of everyone stealing his ideas and sort of pushing him out and him not getting credit and all that sort of stuff. I thought what that was going to lead to was at the bit at the end where Jyn Erso he comes out and he's like points the blaster at her and like he's stopping her from sending the message basically. I thought it was all of that was going to culminate with him where he was going to let her send the message, because I thought what they were building towards was he was going to be, you know what, if I don't get credit for the Death Star, fine, blow it up. Tarkin can take the blame, Vader can take the blame, and then if the Emperor wants another one built, he's going to have to come back to me and ask me, because I'm going to be the only one who can build it. So he set himself up to be the man who builds the Return of the Jedi Death Star. That's what I thought they were going to, building towards at the end. But no, he just gets shot and then dies.
Well, that could have actually been the plan, because there's a moment in the trailer where Jyn Erso's on the walkway and she walks towards the panel, and then in the trailer there's a shot of a TIE fighter flying in front of her.
Yeah.
There's the shot of her walking, but there's no TIE fighter.
Yeah,
so clearly
that was
something
cut
has been
out of the
edited out of the
movie,
third act in the last few months.
Mm.
Which is a shame, because that was an awesome shot.
Well, I did hear on one of those late night talk shows, I can't remember the name of it, but it was pretty funny. The guy, he does this whole talk, he's like, looking forward to Rogue One. He goes, apparently it was reshot to include anti-Trump stuff. And he goes, listen, 2016's been a rough year. He goes, the light at the end of the tunnel for all of us is that we can just watch a good Star Wars movie and we can forget all this crap. And he goes, and how do you put anti-Trump stuff in the Star Wars universe anyway? Do you have him grab him by the Wookiee? Yeah.
What a great way to re-enter the podcast.
Have him grab someone by the Wookiee. So I mean,
listen, I'm the best Force user on the planet. No, listen, I know the Force more than anyone else.
So I mean, if the
Death Star is going to cost 100 million credits.
Yeah. 10 billion. Yeah.
40 million credits if you know what you're doing.
But the Rebel
We'll
Alliance
build
will
a star. We'll build a Death Star.
We'll build a planet killer. We'll get all of the Bothans out of Tatooine.
Make the Bothans pay for it.
For some reason the Bothans reminded me. Pig Nose and Scott were in the film.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah,
Pig Nose and Scott.
You just
better
watch
yourself.
We're wanted men. I have a death sentence on 12 systems.
I'll be careful. You'll be dead.
You seen how it should have ended on Star Wars, like A New Hope, and they talk about that, about how like he says that, and inside like Greedo finds him. It's like, are you sound expensive, and so like Greedo just takes him instead of Han Solo. It's like, I should kept my mouth shut.
Well, it's good to know that they made it out of that city before it blew up. So there you go.
So random.
Yeah.
What do you think
and
about
C-3PO and R2-D2? Bit forced. C-3PO and R2-D2 being a bit forced.
Oh yeah.
I would rather they had appeared at the very end, like maybe just in the background and not as comic relief, because it's quite a serious ending.
Yeah.
Put him in the room with Leia. What do you want about? Like, wait,
put him on the ship.
Very, very simple fix. Just like CG them in the room with don't have to CG, but like Photoshop them in to the background.
I like how you just thought, no, you don't even need to CG. I guess Photoshop, just a still. Well, it does. Whatever. You've
just
got
have
4 weeks
their
left to
image
finish
just
this
slide
film.
onto the screen.
So you can do that, Dad. I got you.
I can do that, yeah.
And it's so lazily done that it's just cardboard cutouts of C-3PO and R2-D2, and you can see like Gareth Edwards' hand like moving them.
I was just saying,
like
you can see like an intern like sliding it into frame.
But like it's clearly in front of the.
It and like pushes it onto the screen.
The projectionist just like puts it in front of the like slightly into the screen.
What's the bit from Family Guy when they pretend like fake Quagmire's death on a video, and it's like, oh, we can at least save the body. Oh no, it's a dinosaur, and it's just like him holding an action figure in front of the camera. Like it could be that, but it's C-3PO and R2-D2. Like he's just holding them.
No, but like they don't need to film, and they are because it's.
Another thing I think they cut out of the movie that was probably going to be a storyline, but because they did chop a lot out apparently, is the pilot when that weird octopus thing is like reading his mind, and Saul Guerrero is like, the problem is it will make you lose your mind, and then he doesn't. He's just
not a bad impression.
Okay.
Good job.
You came here to kill me. There's not much of me left.
Save the rebellion. Save the dream!
Save the tentacle monster!
That's it. But yeah, it's like, he says, it'll make you lose your mind, and he's a bit weirded out at first, but then he's okay. Like, I thought they were going to do, okay, his mind's going to snap at a critical... Did he say specifically
it'll make you lose mind? I thought he said, you may lose your mind. I thought that's what I thought. I thought I heard may in there.
Someone in the comment section said, he said 1 in 10 lose their mind, but watching it a second time, he said no, one tends to lose one's mind. So
110s. Okay. Well, 10 doesn't mean absolute, and that's my answer to that nitpick you have. 10s doesn't mean absolute. That means, one. It's like one typically will lose their mind, but that doesn't mean you essentially will. And he does. He is a little loopy throughout the rest of the film. He's not like how he was at the start. He's not necessarily the same character post weird hentai stuff that happens.
Like in the few scenes when he talks to Jin Erso, like there's a couple of times where he talks to her about like he was the pilot for Galen Erso, her dad, and he says like, oh, your dad told me, I can't remember exactly the phrasing, but like there's obviously implied that there was like a friendship between him and her dad, and that her dad was like, okay, you want to turn things around, here's you do it. There's a certain saying that he gave him, but so I thought that maybe his mind being messed with is going to mean that later on something will happen where his mind will snap and it will revert back to before he sort of changed and became like a rebel. So it reverted him back to his Imperial self, where he was going to like sabotage the mission because his mind is now snapped.
I think he was always kind of a good guy because clearly I think he happened to be, because Galen Erso was an Imperial because he was forced to be. I think he was an Imperial, and the reason he defected because he worked so close with Galen Erso, and it's because he was such a good person that Galen trusted him with the plans to begin with.
Totally.
Or without the plans, but with the hologram, the message. Which begs the question, why couldn't Galen Erso just send the plan straight to the rebels?
Yeah, I guess he was on a different planet because they were at the archives, and he was at that rainy, rocky planet thing.
Yeah, that's true, I suppose. That was a question that just popped in my head. I'm like, why couldn't Galen just email them the plans of stuff? Which, by the way,
but
like I said, call us
movie,
movie,
email
us
like,
movie.
I got a message, I was like, oh, that's the plans, right? No, it's just a hologram. But I did like the bit where Mon Mothma is saying to Bail Organa, she's like, if we're going to do this, we're going to need some help. What about your friend the Jedi? And then Bail Organa's like, I can call him.
That was great.
I loved that bit, like how they linked the movies.
But I also like how he didn't flat out say, it's like, what about your friend Obi-Wan Kenobi? And like everyone looks to the camera and just like, you mean
Ewan McGregor?
Yeah, I was gonna say. But also, there was this part of me where I was like, are we going to see Alec Guinness in this movie? Like, we wouldn't see Alec Guinness in this movie, right?
CG Alec Guinness.
Yeah, I was going to say, are we going to see CG Guinness in this movie?
CG Guinness.
I love the bit as well where, there's the bit where when the blast doors are closing and KS is like, I've got a bad feeling about this, and they're like, quiet. Like, they don't let him finish that line.
They cut off the line, yeah.
I wonder if that was because of Red Letter Media. Because, Red Letter Media, in their Plinkett review of The Force Awakens, make fun of that. How many times people say, I've got a bad feeling about this. Because writers do watch Mr. Plinkett's stuff, too, in Hollywood. So I actually suspect that was in there as a joke to what Mr. Plinkett said.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I think if done well, that line does serve a purpose. I think it is a nice nod to the original Star Wars. I think Luke says it in the first movie. And I think Leia drops it in Empire when they're looking through the cave. So I got a bad feeling about this. I forget who says it in Jet.
Says it once.
Yeah.
And then in the prequels, Obi-Wan says it when the monsters are coming out. Sees all these dangerous monsters, like, I got a bad feeling about this.
That's a little
like, of course you do.
That was pretty
true. I do like Revenge of the Sith. It's when they're about to fly into that ship with the door closing at the beginning.
I do like how Obi-Wan uses it in Phantom Menace. He's like, something's alright, something's not right. I got a bad feeling about this. And I also like the way they use it in Force Awakens. I like how Han Solo drops it there. I thought it was a nice nod, but whatever. Force Awakens is trash, am I right?
You remember, like, in the trailer, like, a lot of hype was made over the Shadow Troopers or the Death Troopers or whatever they're called. Yeah, but they weren't really. I mean, they might as well have just been normal stormtroopers. They weren't different. I think if they made them too powerful, people would have asking the question, well, why weren't they...
Right, they're the Death Star.
Yeah, why weren't they used in the Rogue One sequel, or as we call it, A New Hope? And so I think it also maybe can add to Krennic's overall character of how he is. You look at him, you're like, oh, this is clearly a truly intimidating... You see him in the first scene, it's like, oh, look at this intimidating, strong-willed guy who gets, quote-unquote, who gets stuff done. And then you realize, oh no, he's really just this wuss of a character that just gets smacked around by everybody, including Jen Erso.
Yeah.
And so perhaps the Death Troopers were kind of a thing that like, oh yeah, they look really cool and they look intimidating and they can shoot at close range, thank God. But besides that, they were really just there for show, to help build up his ego, perhaps.
Yeah, and they didn't speak English. They spoke with some weird alien language.
Oh yeah,
in a super robotic voice. I actually wondered if maybe they were all robots, but no, I'm sure they
I loved everything with the stormtroopers in this movie, like the individual stormtrooper stuff. I think it's Jin in her cell, and the stormtrooper's just sitting there, and he's just like caked in dirt and filthy, and like you can tell he just wants to go home. And like he says, like he clearly doesn't care about the rebel cause or the he doesn't have a side. He's just there to get a job.
That
you
was
can tell
a
he's just
standout trooper, that guy, wasn't he?
Yeah. And he's just like, oh God, what now? I'm like, he's so tough with today. It's so funny, and he just gets blown apart. I'm like, wow, that's a talk about a crap job.
Yeah, like when I just from that guy in that scene, I thought, yeah, isn't there an expanded universe story of like Death Troopers or something, where it's like zombies in Star Wars? What's it called?
Yeah, it's Death Troopers. I think.
Death Troopers. Yeah. Well, just from that guy, I was like, yeah, I could see a Death Troopers movie. That'd be good. I'd like that. I even like that bit later on where the two stormtroopers are walking along and they're like, yeah, so they've what's the line they say? Like they've thrown out that old model of something. What's it called?
Yeah. God. I forgot. I don't know.
It's
I don't know.
It's kind of a repeat of the one in A New Hope, isn't it?
Maybe it's like a drill.
Maybe it's a drill. Yeah.
It's another drill. Yeah.
And it's another
it's
drill.
like when the two guys are talking in A New Hope, and Obi-Wan throws that weird sound to distract them. But they're talking like, "Hey, have you seen those new Model 101 things?" And he's like, "Oh
yeah.
I think it was. They were having the same conversation later.
Like they're so bored that they're repeating conversations. I like to imagine. I just think that, and you were talking about things that were cut out. We should touch on the reshoots, I suppose, because you may not feel so, but I felt that they were very, very adamant upon reflection of what you actually end up seeing in the movie. Because you go back and watch the trailers, especially that first trailer, there is so much that was not. Like, I feel like the entire third act was changed. I feel like they World War Z this film in that there was a far more bombastic action sequence with Jyn Erso and the Death Star plans than we ended up getting. Because if you think about it, a lot of the stuff in the third act where they're trying to get the Death Star plans, it's very self-contained. It's not a lot of open space. Maybe they did it on a sound stage where they didn't have to spend a lot of money to do it. And, as opposed to in the trailer when they're running on the beach and you see stormtroopers wading in the water and the ACTs are trying to, they're blasting them and you do get
Krennic's walking in the water.
Yes, and Krennic's walking in the water, and you think, oh man, this is where this is building towards. None of that happens. None of that happens, and it's all then. And I think maybe because they wanted something smaller, and I think that might be essentially why. I feel like that's why Alexandre Desplat, the original composer for the film, ended up either getting fired or left because they changed pretty much the entirety of the third act. And so when perhaps they heard a score and they said, this isn't working, this is not what the third act is about now, maybe they had I honestly don't know why he couldn't still score this film, because what Michael Giacchino gave us was weak, to say the least.
I also think they could have streamlined a bit of the stuff towards the end when it started to get into, like, especially with the Imperial pilot guy who turns good, where he's like, okay, we got to send the signal, but are going to hack into a master switch to contact the fleet to let them know that the signal's coming and tell them they got to take down the bridge so we can transit. And I'm like, you could have made this more simple, guys. You really could have made this more simple. There was like
all they really needed was to say, "Oh, we need to destroy that shield." Essentially, Return of the Jedi. We need to destroy that shield so they can send the message. They can send the email. That's really all you need. You didn't need this whole thing.
Or just say they need to destroy the shield so we can send it. The pilot needs to hack into the Imperial frequency so we can transmit it. That's it. Like, I understand they're trying to give all the different people like a part to play in helping it, but there was too many links in that chain, I felt.
I suppose we should talk about the character deaths because we haven't really touched on that.
Yeah.
I suppose we should talk about.
I'm one with the force with me.
My point about the whole Mary Sue thing, I feel like Lucas was paying attention to. That's why I think the reshoots did come into play. I don't think this movie ended originally with everyone dying. I don't think that's how the movie originally was meant to end. I really don't. And I think I don't know if it was necessarily a reaction to what The Force Awakens got, but Jen Erso is really not a Mary Sue in that she definitely loses. She loses her life. That's for damn sure. Yeah. And I think in the fact that they killed all their characters off, they killed off the cast, which I suppose you could say because, they weren't in A New Hope, they weren't in the original trilogy. Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all of them had to die. It came across to me as not necessarily not overplayed or extreme or what's the word I'm looking for? Excessive, I suppose. It didn't come across as excessive. It came across more as pointless. Almost, it kind of felt like why. Yeah, I just don't see why they say that all of these team members needed to die.
Well, I think I think the idea is it fits into the bigger theme of the movie that it's about sacrifice. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
it was because that was essentially what Galen Erso was all about. The whole reason he did this was because he needed the sacrifice he gave for his family because he wanted to for the rebellion. But I just think maybe it's the way they killed off their characters, because it happened so sporadically, or it happened so quickly, but rather it happened so sequentially after the other. Because who dies first? Is K2SO goes, and then Bodhi blows up, and then Chirrut dies, and so Baze dies, and then a lot of the rebels getting wiped out, and then they all just get wiped out by the Death Star, and it just feels to me really, I'm like, we're really killing off 8 characters in a matter of 15-20 minutes.
Yeah,
that just.
I respect that because they're not building a franchise so they can kill everyone, and I respect
that's. I'm down for killing characters. I just think maybe the way they handled it could have been handled better.
Well, there was no doubt in my mind that that's how the story was going to end because it kind of has to tie it very nicely so that these characters aren't mentioned or seen again in future films. So it works out that way. But it's also like Bandit was saying, it's not just about sacrifice, it's about these characters' legacy or the lack thereof, because we are the Star Wars universe history books are not going to say, and Jen Erso was the one who transmitted the message. That's not going to happen.
No one's
going to
remember any of those guys, but that's.
And also, Galen Erso, Mads Mikkelsen, is really good in this film. I think we need to give him a bit more credit. He's going to go down in the history books as the guy who helped build the Death Star, even though his intention was to go sabotage it or to help transmit the message and betray them.
Even though he was... Sorry, go on.
Well, Star Wars history is not going to reflect that, as in Star Wars History 101, which is what young little Padawans are going to be reading, not necessarily what we see as Star Wars history. And that's one reason why I think Rogue One works as well as it does, because it does have that bittersweet feeling that only we, people watching the movie, are going to know this story. And I think that's just one aspect I like about it. It's a really good meta way to approach it.
Yeah, and
I feel like the rebellion named Rogue Squadron after Rogue One because all the other squadrons are colors, right? And then you get to Empire and it's like Rogue One standing by or whatever, and the Rogue Squadron. I feel like that was named after the Rogue One team. Perhaps that's just a subtle nod. I don't know.
Could be, yeah. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah, but with Galen Erso, I do kind of like that the situation he's in is he knew they were going to build the Death Star either with or without him. It would eventually be built. So he was just trying to make the best of a bad situation where he's like, if it is going to be built, I'm going to help them build it so I can build in this weakness and it can be destroyed, which it was. And I think that was actually a really good explanation because everyone's always like, what idiot designed this thing with a thing that you can shoot and blow it up? And it's like, well, that's intentional. He built that in so that you can blow it up, which is great.
I think maybe the reason I am so disappointed in it, I did still enjoy the film. Maybe the reason I am disappointed with the film is that we're talking about the story, we're talking about different story beats and what happens, and I think what a fantastic story this movie is telling. What a really cool, really original take on the Star Wars film the way that I'm seeing right now. what really cool and intense action I'm seeing, what really great Vader bits I'm getting, what, really, new Tarkin, we're getting new Tarkin, what, and we're getting, but I couldn't care, and I think that's ultimately my big issue, is because we're getting. It is a great story that they're telling here. We're seeing essentially the true Suicide Squad, if you will, of with all these characters, but I just couldn't care because I didn't know these people. I didn't know who these people were. I knew who they were in the context of the story, and that may bother you, Bandit, but that's just how I feel. I heard that sigh of like disgust I came from you. That wasn't inaudible. I just feel like I couldn't find myself caring about what was going on, and which is a shame because they are doing something. They're attempting to do something great here, and this does get me excited for the future Star Wars stories. And I think this does different. I don't know. It's a mixed bag for me, to say the least.
One last
K2SO, he died, and I'm sad.
One last jab
yeah.
at Force Awakens. Perhaps the reason you feel like you know Rey more than you actually do is because she's just Luke again. Maybe that's why you feel like you know her.
No, she is not.
None of these characters were basically just a copy and paste of other characters. Perhaps that's why like
there was no Han Solo in Force Awakens because Han Solo was in the Force Awakens.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
And Finn was a generic blob that just moved around from place to place. He didn't really have any personality.
Wow.
Blob, yeah.
No. A fat blubbering land.
Blubbering
I was
land.
going to say, is he going to be playing Barbie now?
All right. Okay. All right.
All right. Yeah.
Space Monkey.
Space Monkey.
That was pretty sick.
Yeah.
The film is full of really cool looking and great moments, but I just couldn't. Beautiful. I think when those two Star Destroyers crash into each other,
that was
looked
pretty awesome.
Fantastic.
I was arguing with my friends about that. I was like, shouldn't it have been like the bigger ship that sort of rams into the thing? I didn't think a little ship like that could move something that size. Then they're like, well, it's in space, it should be weightless. And I was like, oh yeah, okay.
It's called Hammerhead for a reason. They're like, and it's a movie, but like, how sick was it when they're like, Rebel Fleet, let's go, and like you just see Vader's Star Destroyer like come out of warp suit. It's just like crash. I'm like, I think I clapped a little bit.
That was so.
I was
good.
like, beautiful, well handled. Vader's here, let's go. I love that feeling. Oh man,
I would like the AT-ATs in this.
Huh? What?
I liked the AT-ATs in it, like the walkers.
Oh yeah.
Or the AT-ATs.
It was really cool to see them running through the jungle and like they're outrunning a foot that you think is far away, and then from the other side comes this foot. It just like steps over them. You're just like, whoa.
Yeah. And how they're introduced when they come through the mist. And it's so awesome. And like that opening shot of Darth Vader when the door opens and it's just this massive looming shadow. But there's a shot from, I think they showed it at Star Wars Celebration. It never leaked. We've not seen it online. And apparently one of the ways they introduced Darth Vader in that footage was by like they did something like they shot his outfit, his helmet, and there's something to do with the reflection and how he saw the characters through the reflection of his helmet. And that shot was never in the film. So clearly more stuff has been filmed with Vader than we realise. It's not just a couple of still shots of him looking at a red screen like there was in the teaser trailer. So, extended cut? If this is the Suicide Squad of Star Wars.
God, no. Hell no.
I'd love to see that.
No. We've had this chat on extended editions. Release the movie you want to release first. I'm not paying extra $20 to see extended version. No, bump that.
But if it's on Blu-ray, it's fine. Like, see, I think their objection is them cutting out good scenes and making the theatrical version suck. Yeah, if they cut out just extra scenes and then add them in the DVD later, I see no problem with that. As long as the theatrical cut.
If I see the extended cut and I like it from a lot better than I like the theatrical cut, then that's a problem. If your director's cut is better than the cut you release to the world, then that's an issue. That means that you are fundamentally broken as a studio. That's all I'm saying. I'm
looking forward to the trailers advertising the extended cut, saying the version Trey likes with 100% more ball busting from Darth Vader.
Literally.
Don't choke on your low expectations for Rogue One.
Rogue One, an extended story. Yeah.
I think I'd forgotten that there wasn't going to be an opening title crawl for this. So I was, after the long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I was like waiting for the dun, 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 and it didn't happen. I was like, oh.
If any
and a lot of
film
other people in the
needed
cinema were doing the same thing. They were like,
any
oh,
film needed an opening crawl, it was Rogue One. And I think it's because, and going back to character motivations, if any film needed to have an opening crawl, it was Rogue One, and it's not because it was not because it was an episode versus a standalone, because we needed to know where these characters were. We really needed to know what was going on in the
crawl wouldn't do that, though.
You're right, Trey. You're right, Trey. We really do need to understand where these characters come from. That's why they should have included maybe the first scene in the movie as Jyn Erso as a kid, and maybe we could see some of the reason of why she got separated from her father. But of course, they didn't include any of that because there's no character development. Isn't that right, Trey?
I don't think an opening crawl wouldn't be used for to get across character, or backstory for characters and things like that. Because otherwise,
the title crawl would have been. It would have explained that. They just showed it.
Well, the opening crawl for the clone Attack of the Clones would have been Obi-Wan and Anakin are best friends. They get on really well. They've been on lots of missions together, and Anakin saved Obi-Wan for the 10th time, and then Obi-Wan gets put to 9th time.
You see a Margaret Cross 9th, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say the first half of the movie there, they could have tightened that up. There was a bit too much jumping around from planet to planet. They could have compressed some of those planets together, you know.
I just think it would have helped. It would have helped to know exactly where we were in the story. I don't know. I just feel like I wasn't exactly sure what was going on and why people were doing the things that they were doing, and I feel like the crawl is always there to make sure that everyone is caught up to speed by the time we see stars and the camera pans down or up, whichever version you see. We know exactly what's going on, and we know exactly why things are happening. And I think that might have helped people understand things a bit more. Me understand things a bit more.
But what
perhaps.
would the title crawl have said? It would have said, "The Empire is building a Death Star. They're recruiting Jyn Erso to build it. His daughter is what would it say? It would just say that stuff. We already see that.
It would just say, "Watch episode 3."
Yeah.
No.
That's the scroll all the way down. Just
watch the sequel. It's pretty sick. Yeah. No, I just think
check out Star Wars Rebels. I'm told it's very good.
But I agree.
As someone who would have liked to have seen, and I hate saying. Apparently, I don't know what character development means according to Bandit. So I'm not gonna say character development works. Apparently, plot and character development are one and the same these days. So, God, sorry, I swore again. That's my bad. I'm getting frustrated.
You might not have noticed, but your brain did.
All right, so let's get to the list of questions.
I do agree with you about the music, though. Is there wasn't really a good standout Star Wars track. I mean, they had their track of but yeah, it wasn't that great.
The Jyn Erso or whatever, I think that's the track called "He's Coming for You" or something like that, which is or "He's Here for You Now," I think is what it's called. It sounded eerily similar to "March of the Resistance" from The Force Awakens in certain sounding points, which also bugged me because I'm like, not only did you not write a good Star Wars score, Mr. Giacchino or Giacchino, whatever you want to call him, he's taking from other Star Wars scores to help make his new themes. And it's not done exceptionally well. God, he's on my bad side right now. He really is. Yeah, I'm not a fan of him right now.
I gotta say though, the only other thing I've got sort of written down about the movie is I would have liked to have seen a scene where K2SO meets C-3PO. That would have been good.
Oh no, K2SO would have smacked him.
It would be wonderful.
It's proper backhand.
Yeah, just backhand. Quiet.
Or C-3PO walks up and it's just like, oh yeah, it's a great bit. And C-3PO walks up and it's like, hello. It's like, hello, I'm in the case. He's just like, I don't care. And then he just walks away. And C-3PO's like, oh, right.
I'm taking these two to jail. Where are you going? Jail. I think it was K2SO is because without K2SO, this would be such a bleak film. And I think having a character who is not just he is comic relief, but he's not like the zany, wacky guy. He's a reprogrammed droid who's just really deadpan. I think it's a really good balance. But there are some really good moments of humor, like when Donnie Yen gets the bag on his head. He's like, "But I'm blind."
Yeah,
yeah, that was great. Yeah, and I like the bit where she shoots another one of those battle droids, and then he walks up behind. He's like, "Did you know that wasn't me?" And she's like, "Of course."
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, I liked in the end battle how there was the line "make 10 men feel like 100," and what Bodhi was doing inside the ship was like, "Oh, what's happening on Launchpad 5?" And he said, "Oh, there's like 40 troops here," even though there's no one there. So it was a really nice strategic battle at the end, and it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of the if they got some of the storyboard artists or the editors who worked on the airport fight, Captain America: Civil War, to work on the ending of the film, because it like flowed really, really well, and some shots would there'll be really clever transitions. Like you'd see a shot of action on the beach, and then the camera would pan up to an X-wing fighter, and then we'd follow that pilot for a few moments. It really blended in, and it was seamless. Really, it was really well done. I loved the last half hour of this film. I think it had a terrific third act.
I'm honestly forgetting a lot of the third act. I'm sitting here and thinking
maybe if you watch the film instead of just hating it, you know.
Perhaps, maybe I was so uninvested with that third act, and maybe it really wasn't until Vader showed up that I was just like, "Oh man, now finally."
You just wanted fan service, Trey. No, admit it. No. Don't choke on your fan service.
I was worried about being accused of wanting nothing but fan service, but I don't know. Like I said, I felt more for those guys in the hallway being slaughtered by Vader. That one guy that was yelling for help to the other guys in the door was just terrifying to watch those poor souls get destroyed. Oh, man. Here, take it! I was like, oh, man.
So question for both of you.
Yep.
After Rogue One, since you both had very different reactions from The Force Awakens, has your anticipation for Episode 8 gone up, down, or stayed the same?
I think my anticipation's gone down now that I know that I'm not going to love every single one of these. I am really excited to see where I'm still going to try to be their opening night for Episode 8, obviously. But now that I know that this story is not going to necessarily, that I'm not going to necessarily unabashedly love every single one of these movies, I think I'm going in with a bit more trepidatious expectations. I'm like, but I might not like this one, like, because I didn't love the last one. So that's my answer.
Well, my answer is my expectation for Force Awakens after this actually dropped, because now I think that Rogue One is going to set the bar. It's going to be the movie to beat now, and honestly, I think they're going to screw up Episode 8. I think they're going to screw it up. And so my
just because it's going to be dark does not mean it's going to be Empire Strikes Back, Bandit. Now I will be with you. If the movie opens on a snow planet, I'll be a little nervous. I won't lie to you, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be different than Empire Strikes Back plot wise. Yeah, it'll probably be similar tonally.
Not just that. It's like they got to answer the question of whose Rey's parents are, and they painted themselves in a corner because, as we mentioned before on the show, someone on the internet will have guessed who it is. In which case, they're going to be like, "Yeah, we already knew," or it's going to be something not as good as what people online think about. So it's lose-lose for them. They should have revealed who her parents were in the first movie.
I don't think the Rey's parents thing is going to be the one thing that crushes the Star Wars sequel that everyone's looking forward to.
No, I just think that's one of the
I don't think it's going to be as big of a deal as J.J. Abrams is going to want it to have been. But I think it was a misstep to not reveal who her parents were in Episode 7, because while maybe the filmmakers do not see it as a big of a deal as say finding Luke Skywalker, the internet made that a very big deal for who's.
Yeah, I think that's the internet's fault.
That's the internet's fault for making that as big of a deal as it was. I believe, at least, and so I think they're not the focus of Episode 8 is not. It's probably not going to be Rey's parents. It's definitely going to be Luke Skywalker probably coming back into this world.
Luke Skywalker's parents.
There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions about Force Awakens that need to be answered in Episode 8, and I just don't think they're going to. You know, like, why did Luke just bugger off and do nothing for like a decade or 2 decades?
Lack of balls.
I don't think they're going to bother answering it. I think
it definitely wasn't 2 decades. It was like 6 years, but whatever. It wasn't.
It's real time after the actual movies, isn't it?
But Luke No, but Luke didn't piss off right after Return of the Jedi.
Oh, that's true.
He did the stuff with Kylo Ren. But my point is they definitely answered why he left, anyways. But whatever.
Yeah, well, it was a pretty crappy answer.
And
okay, well,
like,
you can't
say
why they didn't answer that. You can't ask the question, well, why did Luke leave, and then say, well, the answer I don't like, so I want a different answer. The answer.
But see, it doesn't explain it, because it's like, oh, he felt ashamed that Kylo Ren screwed up and all that. Okay, so great, but then why didn't he go and kill Kylo Ren and then disappear? Why did he just allow Kylo Ren to form this horrible First Order? Why did he just bugger off and let all that
Isn't
happen?
Kylo Ren like his nephew or something now? So he can't, like, maybe killing him is not an easy answer.
No,
Luke is the guy who confronted Vader twice, even when he knew he was his own dad.
No.
Luke is not scared to confront problems, or even
it's not a matter of confront.
It's out of character that he would just bugger off like that, and I don't think they're going to.
But it might have been his training that allowed Kylo Ren to turn to the dark side in the first place, so he's got natural guilt for that.
It was definitely the influence of Snoke as well.
Why didn't he lift a finger to fix it?
Maybe Episode 8 is going to let us know.
Well, see, that's the thing. I don't think they will. I just don't trust them to do a good job.
You can't say Episode 8's going to suck because you don't think they're going to answer a question. That's not.
Yeah, but that's just one question.
You think they're going to do versus what
tough questions that they need to answer, and I just don't have.
Well, Harry Potter has taught me that you're not that the questions you want are unreasonable. So I can't. I don't have.
Well, they're not going to explain why he didn't stop Kylo Ren sooner. The explanation of Rey's parents is going to suck. They're going to have Rey and Kylo Ren fight again, and there's going to be no explanation as to why she beat him up. And she's probably going to beat him up again, or he's going to.
We know why Rey was able to beat him. We know why Rey was able to beat him.
Yeah, and all the explanations make no sense. Okay,
but you can't say
that's not how the Force works.
That's not how questions work, Bandit. That's like asking what 2 + 2 is, and when they tell you it's 4, you're like, that's stupid. So it's not. That's not. So I need a better answer than that. You can't ask a question and then ask it again because you don't like the answer.
A bad answer, just because. Look, you asked why do I think Episode 8 is going to fail. That's why I think it's going to fail. Because too many of these big questions you got
answers
good
to.
Answers for.
You want better answers. You want them to stay in that area and keep trying to answer your very specific and hindered questions. And you think it's going to suck because they don't
expect them to write a story that makes sense and where characters actually do things that make
sense. What do you want about?
Well, it all hangs on how they handle Episode 8, and I just don't trust them to answer all these things.
This is normally when I'd come in with a really intelligent observation, but now I'm just thinking. What about the rumor that all the Rogue Squadron, all the Rogue One characters are actually the Knights of Ren?
Yeah, well, they're all dead now.
Oh, maybe the Knights of Ren are zombies.
I have heard that rumor though.
Okay, so that's something like that's resurrected the question you put out. My expectations for Episode 8 are lower, and that's the reason why.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
All right, guys, this is listener portion. Ah, Christ. All right. All right, guys.
This is the only part of the podcast where you can listen.
This is the listener question. This is the listener question portion of the show, in which case we answer your listener questions on the Facebook page. So, to starters, Aji Lestrange asks on Facebook, who would win in a lightsaber showdown, Bandit, Trey, or Trilbee? This is not hard. This is obviously. Obviously.
Wait, with us fighting each other, or with us fighting like Vader or something?
No, it's us. I think it's like a lightsaber duel between the three of us who would win, and it's obvious. Obvious.
I think we all know it's obvious, and none of us need to say.
Yeah. All I'm saying is I would clearly, out of a fit of rage, if we're fighting and means something has happened, I would definitely kill Bandit first.
Well, I think Trey's fighting strategy would be like at the end of Episode 6 when Luke is just hammering down on Vader, like, Rogue One wasn't that good. Force Awakens was not a remake.
Episode 8 will be fine. and
I'll just be there going, good.
She'll be cowered in the corner like the Emperor, like, use your aggression, boy. I'll be like, what'd you call me? And I'll go over there and swipe at Trilbee, and that'll be that, and it's over, and I win because that's how it's going to happen.
I'd probably go for the Han Solo strategy. of just like sneakily shooting someone from under a table or something.
Well, with the lightsaber battle, Bandit, we all have to have the lightsabers. Or I would just use the Force of your guys' testicles. It'd be easy.
That's not how the Force works.
Or I'd feel like, or I'd cut off your lightsabers using the Force. I'd probably, or I'd have
I'd use the Force to switch off your lightsaber and then just stab you.
And then, or pocket sand. Indiana Jones, pocket sand. You throw it at your face. I have sand full of dirt. Throw sand at your face. I would spit in Trilbee's face. There's some sand in yours.
Oh, thanks. I guess I'm still sat on the throne, just doing nothing, and then Trey just comes to the other side of the room, spits in my face, and then carries on pounding on Bandit.
Yeah. And when that inevitable moment happens, when somebody drops a lightsaber, because that always happens, I do like the comic book thing where you clasp two hands together and swing and hit with both hands. You know that move they do in comic books? The Captain Kirk chop sort of thing.
Yeah, the judo chops. That's like Austin Powers, James Bond judo chop. I'd probably use this somewhere. I'd probably end up dying trying to look really cool. I would try to use the Force in a really cool stance, and I'd probably roll my ankle or something. And because I'm not a sturdy guy, I'm a heavy guy. I'd probably get tired pretty easily and just want to sit down. So that's whatever.
So Nathan Snyder says, who was your favorite character and why? Mine was K2SO.
Oh, in Rogue One or just in general?
I think he means Rogue One.
Does it have to be a new character?
I like Donnie Yen. I thought he was really cool. I know it's not the character's name, but the blind guy.
Does it have to be a new character?
You're going to go for Vader because he's already got 6 movies of character development, so you feel he was actually developed, right?
I was wrong. Try again. I was gonna go for the pig nose guy, the one that's
really?
I'm wanted on 12 systems. I really liked his cam. His cameo really made me smile. It was a highlight for me. Or can I go for the rebel, the terrified rebels in that hallway?
Yeah,
just because it's so beautiful. I was laughing my ass off the whole time.
You know what? I liked that. I liked the character that was the snow yeti that was carrying that was basically the bag carrier for that rebel group who was stealing this lightsaber crystals. They got this big sort of snow Wookiee thing in the middle of the desert. I'm like, you poor thing. That thing did not belong there at all. What about you, Trilbee?
Either Donnie Yen or K2SO.
Oh, right. That's right.
Yeah, blind guy, awesome. I thought he was really funny. He was just awesome in the film. I loved him a lot in it. So I've just got a boring answer. Just those two.
Okay.
Who would you? The ones who I'm going to get Funko Pops for Pop Vinyls.
Paul Spooner says, thoughts on the ending. I thought it was brace to go the direction it did. Brace? I don't know what he means.
I think it means brave. Because the C key and the
brave.
VK and the VK are right next to each other.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought it was brave to go the direction it did. Oh, that's what he meant. Okay.
Yeah, because if you were to type something, the C and the V are next to each other on the keyboard. So I got you, Paul. I got you.
Yeah. We actually already answered this. I don't know why I read it out. Okay. Somebody else pick a question.
Oh, we also answered Alex Zepp's question. The answer to me is hell no. So let's see. We also answered Mika Ashby's question with Lid.
Okay, Ben Berkowitz asks, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? If not, what constitutes a Christmas movie? Yes, Die Hard is absolutely a Christmas movie. Iron Man 3 is a Christmas movie. The Nice Guys is a Christmas movie.
Shane Black is a Christmas movie.
Shane Black's Life is a Christmas movie.
Mm-hmm. A Christmas Story, funny enough, it's about Hanukkah, so I don't know if that constitutes as a Christmas story. I made a joke and no one heard it, and I apologize.
A Hanukkah
movie. Okay.
I don't even know what Hanukkah is.
What?
I know it's
Jewish Christmas.
It's like Jewish Christmas, yeah. But
okay. I was going to say, I'm like, Bandit, you're not that culturally.
I have no idea what that is even like. I know of it, but it's not a thing out here.
I've never seen a menorah? You ever seen a menorah, Bandit?
No.
Oh, the 8-candle thingy.
There's not many Jews here in Australia, okay? It's not a thing.
The way you said
I don't know what it is.
I don't know why, but hearing the word
likes it here so much.
hearing the word Jew with an Australian accent, it sounds really like really dirty. Like there are no Jews here. I'm like, ugh.
It's the Jews.
Oh, that is uncomfortable. All right. Okay. Oh yes, you're right. Actually, don't worry about it. Bandit did wake up for this episode. AJ, let's see. Just in case.
Yes, we don't need to kill him today.
Yeah, we were definitely talking about that. We were just like,
Well, Mark Dunville said this week's episode should be subtitled "The Bandit Awakens." So yes.
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah, okay, the trailer, a saga 2 weeks in the making.
Jack Fitzpatrick, he asks, do you guys listen to do you guys yourselves listen to the podcast that you're on? Like if you're on a podcast, do you ever go back and listen to it? And the answer is, my answer at least, is it's yes. But if it's an argument that we had on the podcast, I usually can't, like especially back when they were posted, usually the morning after, I typically can't listen to that same podcast the day after because I'm still like recovering from like our Batman. I haven't listened to it. Yeah, I think there was that time we were talking about Ghostbusters and Bandit accused so that every person that talked good about Ghostbusters was paid off by Sony,
including me.
And listening and trying to listen to Trilbee explain to Bandit how mentally, I don't want to use that word, how ridiculous that sounded.
How Disney Moana Rooster.
How Disney Moana Rooster that sounded. It was really difficult to try to get through because Bandit just was like not budging. The Force Awakens episode was really hard to listen back on.
Sony has been caught faking reviews in the past.
That doesn't mean every
20
review.
years ago.
Yeah.
And they were caught and they had to pay a fine.
It's just, but I just think that there are some times where we will have arguments on this show where I'm like, I can't do this right now. I will get physically angry again trying to listen to myself trying to justify what's going on
I didn't
here.
know you get that angry.
Harry Potter
you
was
failed
really
the psychopath
guilty
test, so I don't want to get you angry.
Harry Potter was a big culprit of that, by the way, of like trying to listen to a podcast and be like, no, listen, this. It's like, what about this? I'm like, well, just enjoy the movie. It's just, yeah. But I'll probably be that way with Rogue One for a bit. I might have to skip around with the Rogue One conversation just a tad.
Yeah. Well, I usually listen to them back, but not always though. It depends on how busy I am and all that sort of stuff, and like because I listen to other podcasts as well. So yeah, it depends.
The only Movie Mania podcasts I listen to are the ones that I'm not in. So I feel like I'm just a listener again. I never listen to my own podcast back. I probably should. I guess never do.
Well, I definitely listened to like all 3 hours of the last podcast because you guys didn't send me the timestamps of where the intros were or anything that needed to be edited out. So I had to listen to the whole thing in its entirety.
I kind of only did that because you went back to sleep and didn't wake up. So that's kind of the only reason. When you were like, can you send me the timestamps? I'm like, you know what? No, you can find the timestamps yourself. I only did that because you went back to fall asleep. I was like, you know what?
Yeah, no, I figured you did, yeah.
I was like, no, you can find the timestamps yourself. Or we can leave it all in. You can hear us go to the restrooms and just walk off camera again. My grandpa make a cameo.
That's like nerd revenge, isn't it?
It kind of was. I mean, it was petty, but I'm sorry, kind of.
Well, you're welcome to edit the podcast yourself if you like. I mean, it's fine for me.
Oh, power play. It's like watching Tarkin and what's his face like go at it. Like, who edits this podcast?
Am I still in command? Am I still in command?
But seriously, though, I don't mind because I was going to ask you if either one of you wants to officially take over the podcast more, because I'm working more and more on my channel recently. So I was like, wonder if you guys want to do it. You can.
I don't think this is a
conversation.
We'll
talk about that later. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, how much should we have this conversation on camera? We don't want to start any rumors, so let's not start any trouble here on the podcast. Yeah, people are already nervous that the podcast has kind of been reduced to 2 a week, and that's solely because that's not on purpose, by the way, guys. That's not on purpose.
But also, it's for me because my YouTube channel, you might have heard around on YouTube they've made some algorithm changes. It's been affecting a lot of channels. My channel's been hit really hard with it. So over the last couple of weeks, I've sort of tried to redo the channel and trying to get everything going. And
a lot of baked beans on toast.
it's finally
Bacon's on
working
toast.
again. So,
Yeah.
I thought that's my priority. I got to focus on that more so than anything else. So that's kind of why I let the podcast slide a few times.
But it was also a matter of if I'm
I
not.
got to focus on that. So.
It's gotten to the point where I'm like, if I'm not recording today, are they gonna do a podcast today? I'll be like, oh, I'm busy this Sunday. I'll send a message. I'm like, wait a minute, they're not gonna record this week, are they? And people keep tweeting us. It's like, so it's bi-weekly. Then I'm just like, no, it's not. Well, we'll work with something. That being said, are we taking a week off for Christmas? We usually take a week off for Christmas. We usually don't come back on. That's what happened last week or last year. We took a break off and we came back in 2016. Totally. So, with that being said, thank you all for watching. Right. So before we close out the show here, we'd like to give our thanks, which sounds way more formal than it puts us out. We want to thank our artist of this week, which is what is that? What's his name?
Joe
Bandit?
Woodley for his one. This was going to be the logo for last week, but since you guys forgot his name, I included this one so we can give him his proper shout out. So sorry, Joe Woodley, if you heard everyone talk about your logo last week but didn't give you credit. You're getting credit here. That's why we swapped it. So thank you. It's a great logo too. It's basically it's from Reservoir Dogs where they open the trunk and there's like the cop in there. It's from the perspective of the cop.
Yeah.
He's put the three of us there.
And it's once again my disapproving triple chin Christmas detective face.
And me at like 12 years old, I'm Mr. Pink, which is nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Woodley.
Which one is which, actually?
I think it's because Mr. What's his name? Mr. Blonde, is that who he is? Mr. Blonde is the one that opens up the trunk, isn't it?
He's the crazy one that cuts off the dude's ear and all that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and I think it's
you,
Mr.
Trilbee.
White.
You're the psychopath. You're the brother of John Travolta. And I'm the guy,
sounds about right.
Whoever he is. I can't remember who the guy in the middle is.
Mr. White. Mr. White.
That's Mr. White, is it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be Mr. Black. That's right.
Everybody wants to be Mr. Black. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Woodley. That is a truly fantastic logo. I feel like he's trimmed off a bit of my cheek so that I look more like Steve Buscemi.
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of narrowed your face there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's thinned you up.
Which is not a bad look, I'll tell you that much. All right, well, now I know what I'm building towards. Okay. And with that being said, thank you all for watching for this and listening to this wonderful episode of the Movie Mania podcast, talking all things Rogue One and a bunch of trailers. Yeah, good laughs. We will be taking if we haven't already.
You're
I can't remember if we said that. Yeah. We will be taking. My throat is getting sore. We'll be taking a couple of weeks off for the Christmas holiday. We'll be back. Well, not necessarily the Christmas holiday. The holidays in general. We'll be back talking. I believe we're talking the best movies of this past year when we get back in 2017. Yeah, Trilbee, where can people find you?
You can find me on my website www.trilbee.com, on my Twitter and my YouTube channel Trilbee Reviews, and you can of course find me on my other solo podcast, Film Brits. And that is that.
And they can find me YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter as Bandit Incorporated.
Oh yeah, I meant to cue you in. Yeah, that's right. Where can people find you?
It's been a week, it's been a week off. Yeah.
I'm so used to podcasting on my own. I just forget to be conscientious.
Oh, I'm Trilbee. I use big words. Conscientious. All those syllables.
I like your solo podcast. It's really difficult to just be able to talk like that nonstop on your own by yourself. That's
yeah. One day I look forward to being able to do it. But Trey, if you're sick of my long syllabled words and my very elongated expressions, you're a jerk.
Okay.
That's the most British, simple insult. Love you, really, Trey.
What is that a reference to? I don't know.
I feel like that's a reference to something.
It's not a reference. It's just I thought I'd just use a one-syllable insult that was family-friendly.
Bandit, where people find you?
YouTube, Facebook, Twitter as Bandit Incorporated. And they can find you, Trey.
They can find me on the